David Wright from Survivor Millennials vs. Gen X, and you're listening to Survivor Talk with Dwaine and David. I promise I'm not trying to find an idol. Also, does anybody know where I can find an idol?
Welcome to Survivor Talk with D&D. We're just two best friends talking about the show we love, Survivor. My name is Dwaine, and the following was written by David, not me. I'm broadcasting tonight from Exile Hotel, which is good for me because once again, we've got an amazing guest tonight that David has aligned with pre-podcast. What the heck does that mean?
That means before the game even started, we colluded.
You colluded. What the heck does that mean? Is that a law term? Colluded?
We colluded.
Are you not supposed to just read the script, or are you supposed to ask questions in the middle of the script?
So on that note, let's skip hearing David saying it's time to vote and get right to that amazing guest who's played Survivor but never been voted out. However, to this day, if you hand her a rock, she throws it at you.
Hello, everyone.
This is Jessica Lewis. Hello, Jessica Lewis.
How are you?
Man, I'm doing great.
Good.
Absolutely wonderful.
Well. Now that this is all, I've stopped messing up your podcast. We're good.
Yeah. Gosh. Let me turn you up here.
We've never done a 2-day podcast, so this could be our first 2-day podcast.
Yeah. It's rather amazing. This is our second time. Yeah, it's our second time to try. So you know what, y'all? If y'all would like to be a D&D patron and help us not have this happen again, just go to survivortalkwithdnd.com/support. Anyway, thank you for listening. Let's get right to the show. Imagine Survivor clip playing right now. All right. Episode recap. David is going to lead the discussion tonight because, see, I've been gone all day, and I'll be gone all day tomorrow. So I only got to watch the episode once. How many times did you watch it, Jessica?
Just once.
Just once. See, David has an advantage on us because he's watched it twice.
Yes, I was in such great pain yesterday that I had to go to the doctor today to get my knee looked at, so it caused me to stay home, which allowed me to watch it twice.
There you go.
But it was a good thing because, Dwaine, what is my favorite episode of every season?
Merge.
Hello. And I thought this was a fantastic 2-hour Merge episode.
Yeah, it really was.
It really was great.
I think it's probably my favorite episode so far, and it will probably be my favorite episode, not knowing how the rest is going to go. But initial reactions, like your first thought when the episode was over, I'll give you mine first, in case Jessica wants to think about hers for a second. We don't really care about Dwayne's. But anyway, I'll give you mine. And
hey, I'm just in my hotel bathroom. There's the shower.
There's the electrifying lamp that's going to fall in the tub.
For some reason, there's a lamp by the tub. I'm not really sure what's going on.
So my initial thought, I put into one capsulized long sentence, which is how I used to write my blog, in like 2-paragraph sentences. Or the sentence was like 2 paragraphs is what it was.
Get to the point.
So Haley might have been right. Ozzy, I think, was the wrong vote. And Debbie wasted her advantage. So those are my initial thoughts.
Yeah, I think anything in Debbie's hand is not an advantage.
I think she did. She tried, though, and for a minute, like, I really thought it worked. Like, when I first watched both, I was like, oh, my God, Debbie made this happen, and she made it work, and then I was wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I had the great opportunity to chat live because there's no choir practice last night. So I got to sit down at 8 o'clock and watch it live with our Facebook group and chat live with all those awesome people. That was really cool. And we had all kinds of discussions going. And if you could tell, I only really type during commercials. I don't type during the show. I like to watch the show. But during commercials, we had great conversations, which caused me not to be able to get up and get drinks and stuff like that. But anyway, and we talked about her vote and whether it was wasted or not. And to me, what she did by playing that was, 1, she didn't trust her alliance. 2, she showed that she had an advantage. She knows they're in the game and could find more. And I had like 3 or 4 things, but to me, it kind of revealed that she was playing her own game and that she really wanted to make this move as her own because apparently, according to the edit, she's the one that started it. But to me, you got to trust your alliance. Even if Sarah had flipped and voted for Zeke, they still had the numbers. It would have been 6-5 without the extra vote.
And if you think about it, too, what she ultimately could have done was she could have created a tie.
That's right.
by playing the advantage, because if that person hadn't flipped, then it would have been even, because the only person out of the equation would have essentially been Zeke. And then you've got a potential tie because you've got 6-6 that are left.
Right. So, I mean,
so
this
she could have made them go to rock.
All right. So back on Exile Boat, which advantage do you take?
See, that's a great question, because my initial reaction was, oh, you take the extra vote. Absolutely, all day long. But I happened to be sitting next to Dalton Ross, who was...
Name dropper.
Name dropper.
When I was doing the pen for him, and he explained why the like immunity kit would have, or the idol kit,
the fake idol kit, yeah.
Yes, the fake idol kit, and he really laid it out very nicely. But I still feel like there's enough people in Survivor that have made fake hidden immunity idols with the various things that are around the island that have actually worked and people have played them. So my reaction in that moment would have been, I want the extra vote. But I can see why the fake hidden immunity idol kit would have been a great idea too. But so Dalton Ross swayed me a little bit. Yeah,
I swayed Dwaine when we talked about it that night, because I think he'd like the extra vote as well. But I like the idol, because if you're going to come back with the story of, and she even said, I gave up all the essentials of life when she was pulling out her advantage at Tribal. If you're going to come back and say you got nothing, they're going to know you had the opportunity to find something. And if you're going to have something, you might as well have a fake idol more than anything. Or she could have come back and been somewhat truthful and said, it's not an island. It was a boat with food, but that was all I got. That was my reward. Right. That was my exile. There was no other advantage to it. I scoured that boat. You can check my bag, or she can do something else with the idol. But otherwise, I don't know. That's a tough decision. I would probably come back and say nothing. But if you come back with nothing, you're going to have something, surely.
Well, yeah, and that was my big concern with Debbie, was whether or not she was going to be able to not tell anybody that she had it. And she seemed to actually keep it to herself, which I was surprised, because Debbie likes to talk about all things Debbie and things that she's done. She's very proud of what she's done. But at the same time, I was really surprised that she managed to keep all of that like under wraps and not say anything.
That was another one of my points, was that she showed people that she didn't trust any of them enough to tell them about it. And it's something you really don't want to tell, because Ty hasn't told anybody about his extra idols. His 4th, 5th, and 6th idol that he's had this year. But
right.
But she showed her alliance that she's got her own game working.
Well, and she even said that during the final tribal, where she was basically talking about herself as almost like an individual person out there on the island, instead of someone who's part of a group.
Yeah. Dwaine, what was your initial reaction to the episode yesterday?
Oh, that
you still here? You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. That Debbie is like going berserk lately. It's like playing really hard and dancing around like she's drunk when she's not, and playing the idol. I mean, playing the extra vote, and then like she's Miss Queen of Survivor. I don't know. To me, she's becoming annoying to me.
Really? Because I thought this episode was actually her most under control. There are a few quirky moments. The fake drunk thing was kind of silly, but at the same time, people might have thought they could get information out of her during that time. Maybe that's what she was fishing for. I did think when she threw out Ozzy, and I hate to say it, but she and I were thinking on the same track, because my first track was, what is the merge like? And the merge is like in the movie Gladiator, where all these gladiators are fighting in all these towns. That's how the tribes are fighting. And once all the winning gladiators come to the main Coliseum, that's the merge. And Debbie, sure enough, said gladiators in the Coliseum. That's what the merge is like. So, but getting there, and the other point she made was Ozzy, because I'm thinking, they keep talking about Zeke. They keep talking about about Andrea, pulling the blinds on Andrea, but hey, there's still Ozzy over there. Who's going to bring out Ozzy? I might not necessarily agree with it, but I'm thinking, who's going to bring out Ozzy? And here comes Debbie. So I'm starting to get a little worried that I'm thinking like Debbie. But I actually enjoyed. I know Ryan Kosher's a big fan, but I actually enjoyed Debbie this week. I thought the Ozzy vote was not necessarily the right vote, but I enjoyed it. But what else did you get from the episode, Dwaine?
Well, first of all, if you start telling us all the different jobs you've had, like You know, Jessica, back when I was an Air Force commander.
Yeah. Did you work at Red Lobster too?
I wish. I wish I worked at Red Lobster.
Yeah. I think it's hilarious how people are saying that Zeke's not going to use all this stuff to help him win. Of course he is. He's a smart player. He's a good player, and that's what he's doing. He is. Well, that's not what he's doing, but he has. I mean, how many people has he aligned with? How many people has he talked to? And although that could backfire on him because everybody's going to start talking about it, but still.
Well, and I think that Zeke was in a really good place, but Zeke has now started to play just as he was playing back in 33.
Right.
And I think that that's part of the problem with playing back to back and not watching yourself play. He said in one of his pregame interviews that in 33 he started to play too hard, too fast.
Right.
Game, and he was not doing that in this season. And then the merge came and he started to do the same thing. Like last night, he was like, I'm not in charge and I want to be in charge. And so he started to try to do things instead of just kind of sitting back going, I'm in a good place right now. And I might not be running things, but I'm working with people who are. And that's a good thing if you're working with people that are making things happen, because then it's not necessarily all falling on you. And now he's essentially turned his back on the people that were closest to him. So I think it's gonna hurt him. I really do.
I completely agree. There's kind of a balance you got to find, and it's really neat. Production is eating up all these players wanting to make moves, because Probst is all about, I want people that are going to make moves, that are going to jump at the chance. And even Zeke is like, do I go down swinging, or do I go down not having a chance to make that move later in the game? I want to go down swinging, and that's what Probst wants. That's what production wants. But there's a balance somewhere. If you're one of three, do you let the other two feel like they're in charge, and then you make your move when it's a good time to make your move, which I thought this week was way too soon for Zeke? Or do you have that feeling like, I need to be in charge the whole time so that it looks better on my resume at the end of the game? And I think that's where Zeke is, and I think that's a fault so early in the merge. I mean, I know the merge is a sprint now to the end, but there's still 12 people left in the game, and he's already feeling like, I'm not in control anymore. I'm not used to that. Well, even, who was it? Cerise said later on, you got to adapt. Got to be adaptive to the game. And Zeke, and that's a really good point about playing too soon, because we've talked about this with different people about how coming back soon might be good because you get to get back into it. Nobody really knows who you are, but at the same time, he did not get to see himself, shoot for the moon so early.
Yeah, and I think that if we compare it to 33, he was in a great place in 33 to be in a final six with the six people that he was working with, and then everything with he and David blew up, and then all of a sudden he, went to blows with it wasn't necessary. Like, that didn't need to happen yet. That could have waited until we got to 6.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing here. He could have waited, and then you're working with Suri and Andrea, who both know this game. They're both playing it very well. Let them be the focus. Everyone's focusing on Suri. Nobody wants Suri to get to the final 3. So she's a great person to bring with you, because when it really gets down to it, you have a wonderful argument to make to these people as to why she should go home versus Zeke. And now Zeke has turned his back on those people, and so it's going to be an uphill battle for him. I really think it will be.
Yeah, he's on an island by himself. Dwaine, you got any more?
Well, speaking of Suri, I have to eat my words here, because I was telling you that I was not impressed with Suri preseason, and I wasn't really looking forward to her playing and things like that. My goodness, she's being a little sneaky. She's
I love Suri. Yeah, Suri's like one of my favorites.
Yeah, she's got Michaela by the braids, man. She's
oh, she so does.
Oh my gosh, and Michaela's going to be one mad person when she figures it out.
So everybody that thinks Suri is overrated, I hope they saw this episode, because this is that point I was making about, when do you move and when do you sit back? And Suri's been able to sit back because she's never gone to tribal. But suddenly now I think she saw her opening, and she saw Michaela. And now, this was a great episode for Suri. I loved watching Suri in this episode, because this is the woman we've watched the last couple seasons grow into this player. And she's so smart and so dangerous. Zeke's right. Those two have to go. Andrea and Suri have to go.
And if you think about it too, Suri actually voted for Michaela. And she made it okay for Michaela that she was voting for her by controlling her in the way that she did. So she hasn't lost. I mean, Michaela's like, I will do anything that Suri wants me to do. And she wrote her name down. I mean, that's genius. Like, that's absolutely genius when you can write someone's name down. It's very similar to what she did to Eric, you know, where she was playing and toying with Eric and convincing him, hey, give up your immunity necklace. I mean, it's almost to that level where she's able to control people and make them still feel fine with her and feel like they owe her something. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
All right, so I think we've got Jessica's initial reactions to the episode because we're still going to do a recap.
Well,
I do have to say one other thing, though, about my initial reactions. I can't believe, like, Hallie called herself a goat. Like, she literally called herself a goat. I thought that was kind of a sad moment.
She really talked herself down several times.
She really did. Like, basically, like, listen, I'm not going to win the game. I'm not a threat, and you should all keep me here because of that reason. Like, I was like, that's kind of sad. But anyway, that's my other reaction.
Yeah, like she said, why don't you want to bring game changers with you to the end? No. She said, why don't you want to get rid of the game changers and keep people like me?
Yeah, I was like, oh my God. I'm like, what are you doing?
And if you don't vote me off, I will strip for you. Jessica, that might have been a good plan for you.
Yeah, you should have seen the chat room when she offered to be patted down.
I'm sure.
They were volunteering left and right.
Yeah.
So, well, since I'm in charge of the recap, we could just talk about points of the show. Let's talk about Haley for a second because I think Haley was actually right because Haley kept getting the short end of the stick on all the swaps. She kept getting in bad positions. It's like she never got a chance to align to be part of something. But I thought she actually had a good point at Tribal because they kept asking Brad, why Haley? And he's like, well, she's at the bottom of our group, so Haley or Michaela. Well, we don't really need her, so why not Haley? Well, there is another faction playing against you. You know, there are subgroups, a lot of small groups, but there are two main groups that were pointed out multiple times. And I'm thinking, why don't you keep an extra vote around? Why don't you go back after Michaela? You know, if she's strong in challenges, why don't you keep Haley? If who's only been good on the balance beam, except unless you ask Debbie. But otherwise, you know, I thought Haley actually had a good point. You know, I'm not the one that has the idol. If you want to check, you're welcome to check. And, you know, usually when people are honest with police, they tend to start believing that they're not gonna find what they're looking for. And then I don't know. What did you think? Did you think Haley was right? Was Haley the right vote for the start the jury?
I don't necessarily think she was the right vote because she is someone that I think could have been utilized. But I think the problem that everybody had with Haley was she hadn't committed to anybody yet, and I think that's probably what they were worried about, is that she didn't have that core group that she was working with, which makes her a swing. And so I think in the minds of the people that have come together and have created those little groups, she's scary because she is someone that can be used by the other side because she isn't committed. And that makes her dangerous. So it's kind of a toss-up. Like, she would have been great if you could have pulled her in, but if you can't pull her in, then she becomes a liability. So maybe to start, you know, the jury, she would have been the best choice, because you're looking at who else is out there. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of it was interesting how, you know, that all ended up formulating that it was between Haley and Michaela. But yeah, I mean, I can see the pros and cons in it.
So the funny thing was, it's almost like the two factions actually work together to start with. It's like, you know, USA and another country working together against the country, even though eventually they're still gonna have to face each other. But they worked. It's like a 3-person dodgeball game. 2 teams work against one, but eventually they're going to have to face each other. But we're okay for now. Let's just get rid of this one, and then we'll look back at each other. But I don't know. It makes me nervous to leave players like Zeke and Andrea and Sari and Ozzy still in the game with somebody like Haley sitting there as an easy vote. It's almost too easy, you know, to go in that. It might have been a great time for a blindside.
Yeah, like get Zeke out or get somebody else out.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird too because I hate to keep going back to 33, but that was a very similar thing that happened to us at the merge with the vote for Michelle.
No, is that just me?
Nah, she's frozen. She's frozen.
What was that? Oh, were you watching something else?
Okay. Are we back?
All right. Yeah, you were talking about the vote for Michelle.
Yeah. Yeah. So in that moment, I was concerned I was going home. And so when someone else said Michelle, it's not me, so I'm all right with it. But it was weird because there was so many of us that came together for that vote. It was very reminiscent when I watched it last night, when I saw that they did basically the same thing. They all kind of came together for that.
All right. So tell me this. Tell me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like when Haley found out Michaela was the candidate to get the most votes, she obviously she wasn't. I think like you said, Haley was just looking for somebody to come take her in. She was looking for a wing to crawl under. She was looking for a group to be part of, and nobody, I guess, needed her or thought they did. Which I'm surprised that I guess one side. Well, you know what? Both sides felt they had Sarah. So I guess both sides are like, we've got numbers. Great job on Sarah to play both sides.
Yeah.
But Haley went out and said, you know what? If I'm going to get voted out, I'm going to start a fight. It's me and Michaela. I'm going to light a fire under Michaela to get her. Maybe I guess she was thinking to get her to stand out more to get voted out before Haley. So Haley just wants to die another day. But the funny thing was when Haley went to light a fire under Michaela ended up going to Sari, which may have happened anyway. And then Sari ends up saving Michaela, and Haley gets voted out.
Yeah.
So if Haley hadn't lit a fire under Michaela, might Michaela still have gone, and Haley been safe for another day?
Well, and that's the weird part about the game is that you never know how what you say is going to affect you, and it could be something so small as I think if I do this, it's going to become this. When in actuality, a completely different thing ends up happening. I mean, just like what happened to Zeke. Zeke thought, look, I'm gonna go after, someone who's in my core group, and I'm gonna get all these people behind me, and it backfired, and they tried to vote him out. So it's sometimes the best laid plans should just be left alone. Like let's just I'll think about it, but I don't know how it's gonna play out, so I don't want to do that yet. And it might have been best if Haley had just not.
It'd be a whole lot more fun on the island if everybody said, okay, we're not going to talk strategy until an hour before we got to go. Let's go have fun.
Oh, my word.
But there'd be that one person that would go talk strategy.
Well, and that's the thing, too, that I noticed with Michaela that I thought was funny was that when she talked to Sari told her, like, just keep composed, watch your facial expressions, like, don't get all crazy and everything. And Michaela did like just the opposite. She was like at the immunity challenge and she kept making all these snarky comments. And my husband and I were like laughing. We're like, she's clearly not listening to Sari. It's like, but like that's Michaela. Like she just can't control it, even when you need to do this. Even at Final Tribal, I was a little bit concerned because of what she was saying.
Let's go to that moment since you brought it up. And no offense to 33, since you brought up 33, but there to me, that moment was a better millennial Gen X moment than almost anything I saw in 33 with Sierra talking to Michaela. That was two different generations of Survivor talking. It was a beautiful conversation. The chat room, the Facebook group was going nuts over it. Professor Sari teaching 101 Survivor to Michaela. And to me, that's another point of not playing again so soon. After the way Michaela played last season, she could have gone to Parvati. She could have gone to Sari. She could have gone to Kim Spradlin and said, tell me what I can do better the next time I go out there. And if Sari, Sari may not have gotten the firsthand impression of her by not playing with her, but because she was out there with her, she saw exactly what she needed to do. Right. And it's so funny. If you're hungry, get unhungry. If you're mad, get unmad. But she described Michaela to a T.
She did. She really
was
did.
So spot on. And she's like, girl, that's why I'm not in trouble. Because I know how to adapt. And she even, I wrote down the 3 words that she said. Where did she say it? But it was so neat because later on when they got near a hammock and Michaela sneaks up on every conversation. It's good on her. But she said, she said, she said, I'm just confused because I know my name's going to be written down somewhere. And Sari looked at her with laser beams and a look on her face like, what did I tell you? Yeah. And that was my wife looking at one of our kids who spoke out of turn at dinner. What did I tell you? Or it's me looking at one of my kids. Yeah. That look was so priceless. It was one of my favorite moments of the episode. And Michaela's like, oh, I guess I wasn't supposed to say that, was I?
Yeah, and I think too, Michaela is struggling because I think she also is not seeing herself play. She is playing a much different game. Like she's much she's not like in beast mode like she was before with the challenges, and she's kind of being a little more subdued. Been able to control some of her emotions, and I think the editing is really helping.
Yeah.
It is happening. We're just not seeing it because everyone talks about how, Michaela, she's got a short temper and she's, and, they got to babysit her and all of these various things, but we're not really seeing it. So I wonder how much of the editing is cutting that out because she seems to be playing different, but everybody's calling her on it. So it's clearly happening. We're just not seeing it.
Yeah. Sierra made a point of if we vote for Michaela but don't vote her out, she's going to come back here and be hard to live with.
Right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And how about, Michaela's like sneaky. It's like everywhere people are, Michaela comes sneaking out of the woods or something. You can't have a conversation.
But she comes up and looks accusatory at him.
Oh,
she's looking at him like, what are y'all talking about? Y'all talking about me? What are you talking about?
Y'all talking about me again. I know.
She never has like a cover story like, hey, what's going on? I was going to get some water. It's always like, what's happening? Are you voting me out?
Yeah. whereas Debbie walks up, I know you're having a private conversation. I just want to get my things. I'm going to keep moving. I'm not going to stay. Oh, no, come on in. We'll stop talking.
Yeah.
I know it's Survivor. It's the only place on the island I want to go. There's everywhere else to go, but I want to walk in right here right now. But that was hilarious. And
then Michaela's like walking up. She's almost like an Abby Marie, She just kind of walks up and go, so you're talking about me.
Yes.
Just like Abby Marie would do.
That is exactly spot on. Yes.
So
Cere's got to come up with a codes or something. Got to get rid of the face.
Yes.
Yeah, she's got to do something. Like it's like Cere should like touch her nose like every time like Michaela's doing something. Like,
well, the problem with that is Cere would be like this the whole rest of the day. She'd be like, then I'll be like, Cere, what are you doing? Just don't even ask. By the way, Jessica, I don't know what you brought to drink, but I have tap water from my hotel bathroom.
Hey, the sink is right there, right? So you can just fill it right there.
I'm just saying. I don't know what you have, but
Angry Orchard.
I don't even know what that
cider.
is. What is that? Is that some kind of sweet tea or something?
This? No, This is hard cider. It's crisp apple hard cider.
So it's an apple cider drink with a little bit of punch.
Yours has like an amoeba floating in it.
Yeah. I remember whenever I was in high school. And I went to this little dance place and I said, I'll have an iced tea. Would you like that hard iced tea? Sure. I was dead by the end of the
night. You think it was an iced tea popsicle or something? That's what they thought.
No, I knew what it was. I was just, being a bad little boy. All right, go on.
Since we're kind of jumping around, which is my favorite way to talk about episodes, let's go back to the merge buffet. The covered dish meal.
That was awesome.
That was good. So let me ask you, Jessica. Last season, if millennials and Gen X's are still separated, who from Gen X volunteers not to eat the food?
Good question, David.
Thank you, Dwaine.
From the millennials?
Yeah.
Who volunteers not to eat? Boy.
Ty's not there.
Okay. Is Michelle there?
Yes.
See, here's the thing. Michelle was starving when she was out there, but I feel like the good in her would want to be like, I'll just do it because she has that
that's
persona.
A great point. Yeah.
So I feel like even though she was really, really hungry, she would probably be the one that would step up.
All right. What about from Gen X?
From Gen X?
Well,
honestly, I feel like I would have done it just because so many people were upset with me. I probably would have been like, I just won't eat. Because then here's the thing, honestly, when I was out there, like I wasn't as hungry as I thought I was going to be. Like people were like, oh, I'm starving. And I ate probably the least because I only got the steak and stuff at the beginning. I didn't have any of the reward challenges. So, and I was fine. I was like, I'm eating some fish and some rice. I'm okay. And coconut. So I probably would have been like, I don't need to eat because, hopefully it gets you some brownie points.
Yeah, but on the other hand, everybody goes, you chose not to eat because you're trying to get brownie points. And then they, you can't win for losing out there.
That's exactly true. You can't because it's one of those situations where if you sit out a challenge and everyone's like, oh, they think that they're good. No one's going to touch them. And they might actually have a legit reason for not doing it. Like, in one of the challenges Zeke sat out, he was like, I can't balance to save my life. So I knew I wasn't going to win. So I'm going to eat. Yeah. But people don't figure all of these things into it. There is always some other reason.
But you at least start the challenge in case Probst brings out hot dogs.
Yes.
And then you jump out of the challenge as soon as possible.
Right. I hold on to that pole as long as I can, hoping he brings out hamburgers or brownies.
I was just hoping I'd win.
Yes, that's true.
Well, I know I'm not going to win it, so.
It's
Adam Klein.
Speaking of somebody walking up on a conversation.
Yeah,
right?
Adam's like the Michaela of our podcast.
You guys were talking about me.
Yeah, well, we were talking about Michaela and Abby sneaking up on people and just calling them out. And then, lo and behold, Adam, you show up.
Hi, Adam.
You can't vote me out. This is my island. You can't beat me.
Wow. That's pretty aggressive.
Quote. No, it's a quote. It's a Troyzant. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Hey, so since Adam's
hi, people,
here, I can ask him directly. Go ahead.
Just so you know, I just wanted to pop in and say hi, but I only have like a little more than 10 minutes or so. So
we understand.
Let me ask you: if you guys get to the merch feast last season, it's still Millennials and Gen X separated. Who from Millennials volunteers not to eat?
Probably me. That sounds like but genuinely, like, I did not care about food. Like, if I thought that volunteering to sit out would help me in the game, I would do that in a second. Yeah,
I just when you faked going under the log.
Yeah, just like when I did that.
Yeah.
No, to be honest, so the Merge Feast was the only like real food that I had until day 26 when I won my first reward, and it was difficult, right? Because it's Survivor and it's always difficult. But I knew it was going to be difficult, and it wasn't worse than I thought it would be. Like, I was fine. I was going to be okay. So the worry about that, though, is are you missing out on important conversations?
Right.
Yeah.
That's like the thing that you'd have to question. But at the same time, you'd also be thinking, is there an advantage if you is there some other twist to this if you do decide to sit out?
Yeah, I was expecting something over
what happened to Debbie. Yeah, right?
Maybe, yeah. So,
I thought maybe there'd be like an idol over there and Ty would find it.
Yeah. Can I put in my 2 cents on Ty? I have no idea what you guys have said up until this point, but I think Ty is getting a terrible edit for a very, very, very strong game. Is that a hot take?
Yes, that's a hot take.
It is
I don't know what a hot take is, so.
Well, a hot take, like, is that controversial? Like,
I think he's getting an edit to get to the end and sit in the tie seat where he gets no votes a second season in a row.
But how can you not award this guy the $1 million if he gets to the end? Think about what he's done on paper. He has been on the right side of every vote. He voted out his friend Caleb to solidify himself, show his loyalty to Brad, Sierra, Debbie. He did it again by playing an idol successfully on Sierra. Since then, he's found 2 more idols and still been in the majority on every single vote. What am I missing?
It's all luck.
If he plays 2 more idols successfully, then you're right. He's built a good resume, especially at this point. We're at final 11.
Wait,
why do we think that this is luck? I think it's the edit manipulating us, to be perfectly honest. And I think Ty has a hard time articulating himself, so he doesn't go in confessional and say, this is what I'm doing, and it's hard to probably give him the mastermind edit because he can't articulate it very well, but his instincts are spot on.
Yeah, except that whole thing leading up to the Sandra vote. That one was a little bit tough. When he was during trial.
Ozzy is saying in exit press, and this, I thought the same thing. I was like, someone filmed me while I was watching this. I was on all fours screaming like, Ty, play the idol. What's wrong with you? Like, you're going to go home. And then he didn't play it, and he didn't go home. And I was like, I guess Ty knew more than we did. But we're finding out now, Ozzy is saying that it was all a plan. The whole thing was staged.
Yeah, David, that's what we said.
Yeah.
The whole like, oh, I think they're talking about me, so I'm going to throw out Ozzy's name. And Ozzy and Zeke, like it was all staged to try to throw off Sandra.
Well, it worked.
How about that?
I like it.
Well, you heard it here first. Oh, wait, no, okay.
You heard it 2 weeks ago here first.
Yeah, we actually.
No, but we felt the same way because it felt really kind of overboard. And I was like, are they doing it because they think Sandra is an idol? Or I'm not sure why they're doing it because she wasn't going to stay in the game. She wasn't going to be on the jury. So why the bigger front? Is that just for tribal or why?
In case of an idol. For sure, in case of an idol. Yeah, because you got to imagine that Sandra is as dangerous as can possibly be.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to pull out all the stops if you're going to try to take out Sandra. And they did, and Ty looks like an idiot for doing it, but only because they didn't show him and others explain that it was all a big ruse. Right. And I get why they needed to do that, because they needed to show that it could be Ty, and they tricked me, they tricked the audience, but then they never gave him the chance to explain what that really was about.
So, because when he didn't play his idol, that's when I think when we kind of said, okay, so that was just a big ruse.
Right.
But fortunately, Sandra didn't look at him and say, give me that idol.
Yeah.
But I get your point.
But yeah, that was the one really weird component, is that he never played the idol.
Yeah, but I get your point about him getting a weak edit for what looks like could be a strong game.
A weak edit that is, I think, tricking a vast majority of the audience. I mean, what I see on Twitter, what I see on Facebook and Reddit and everywhere, people are like, oh, Ty's such a loose cannon. He's a flipper, or he's not trustworthy. Like, how much more do you have to prove yourself to an alliance before you're finally trusted? Like, the guy has played an idol. Like, but what else do you have to do?
Well, he didn't do it in Co-Wrong because he left Scott out to dry.
But that was the only time that he sort of flipped on something. Like, can you even – I mean, the guy has this reputation for being so untrustworthy, and he turned on someone once.
Well, see, I don't call him untrustworthy. I call him more unpredictable, as in you're not sure what he's going to do. The act with Ozzy I thought was really smart. That was really good to push off Sandra. But at the same time – It's almost unpredictable, but if you think about it, what you're saying, even with the Brad and Sierra idol play, it was all planned. It was all, it was very well done, and it was part of. To me, it's almost like Ty trying to act up a little just to go into what he knows he's going to do.
And who was given editorial credit for that? It was Brad Culpepper, not Ty.
Yeah, but the other thing too, though, is he is the one who let Sandra know the cat's out of the bag as far as who they were voting for too. So that's. That's part of one of those issues with Ty is sometimes, even though there might be a plan, the plan comes to be because Ty might have said something he shouldn't have said.
Wait, what are you talking about? What did he do?
He said to Varner and Ozzy, he was like, well, it's an easy vote, right? It's Sandra. Like, we're voting for Sandra. And he said that to Varner, who then went back and told Sandra. And that was, and Ozzy was like, oh, that didn't need to happen.
I heard, and I heard people saying this too, and I also was like, this doesn't make sense, because when if you think back to that episode, they were using Ty as the decoy boot. So what's Ty supposed to say? What is the decoy boot for him? It's Sandra. Like, he only has one plan. They're telling Sandra and Varner that it's Ty. So, of course, Ty is going to say that it's Sandra. What is he supposed to say in that case? That it's a third name?
Well,
no, I get it, but I don't know what happened first. Like, who came first, the chicken or the egg?
But it seemed like Ty walked up to the conversation and brought up the idea that he's nervous, and is everybody still voting Sandra? Where all they had to do was walk up and say, "Who's going to catch the next fish? What are we eating for dinner?"
Oh, but that's the believable story from Ty, because if you're Sandra and Varner, they're telling you we're voting for Ty. But Ty has to know a fake plan, right? Even though they're the fake plan. So the fake plan for Ty is that they're voting for Sandra. So that's totally believable to me. And that makes total sense. So I didn't see that flip up again at all. And I think, again, either the edit is manipulating us or maybe I'm missing something. But to me, of course he's going to say it's Sandra, because that's the decoy.
But if that's the plan, then why did Ozzy have a confessional right afterwards that he couldn't believe Ty brought that up in front of Varner? And then he went and told the others, you won't believe what Ty just said in front of them.
See, I didn't understand that.
That was a little hypocritical of them because they were like, they were putting Ty out as the decoy boot. So how is he supposed to know that he's not supposed to say that? I don't know. I just thought that was.
But even then, why isn't he supposed to say that? That whole thing confused the heck out of me because it's like, how is that a mistake? I mean, what's Varner supposed to think? He's supposed to think that Ty thinks that. So I did not understand Ozzy's reaction.
Well, I agree. It goes back to blaming Ozzy and his fellow alliance mates because they didn't keep Ty informed. They didn't talk to him enough and didn't keep him abreast of what was going on. Then that's why Ty could come up and say, "What's going on? Are we still voting Sandra?"
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I also think that moment is one of those moments that if they chose to give Ty a mastermind edit, wouldn't make the cut. They don't have to show each and every one of these scenes. And, I may be a little biased because I had many scenes like this that they chose to show of like me looking like I was paranoid or whatever. And, they can pick and choose what they want to show. And it seems like they're doing that with Ty. Yep. Anyway, I've spent my whole 10 minutes now talking about Ty. I see a lot of people like kind of saying he's playing a terrible game when on paper he's like playing the best game, I think.
Okay, so to get this straight, you think Ty is playing a very good game and CBS is trying to make us think that he's not, right?
Yeah, I think that summarizes it. Yeah.
So he's getting the Adam treatment.
A little bit, I think. Yeah, I think so.
So you're thinking Ty might win? I think
I'm totally wrong. Look, if I were out there, I would maybe think that. But based on the edit that we're seeing, I'd have a hard time believing that that's the narrative the story of the season.
Right.
I think if he were to win, it would probably be edited a little bit differently.
Yeah. So who do you think has a chance of winning based on your observations and based on, unless you're spoiled, don't tell us.
Yeah, no, I'm not spoiled at all. Until this last episode, I was choo-chooing all the way on the Brad Culpepper train. I think he's been getting like the classic winner's edit, getting, credit for like even the Ty idol play and even Ty voting out Caleb. They showed that conversation where Brad was telling Ty, you need to do this for your own game. And, he's got lots of personal content about Monica and talking about all different kinds of stuff. So to me, in terms of, if you want to talk winner's edit, that is the classic winner's edit. This last episode was strange in the sense that they talked about him as, because I said in my Xfinity Power Rankings this last week that, Brad's sort of getting the credit, but it seems like Sierra is kind of, maybe she's not getting the edit, but it does seem like she's running the show in some ways. And so I called it like Team Sierra, just because everyone else is, calling it Team Brad or whatever. But now after this last episode, it seems the edit gave credit for the group to Sierra. And they said Sierra's in charge, she's the brains, and Brad reports to her and like Troyzan reports to him or something like. There was some line like that.
Yeah, the best witnesses to the actual story are the people in the game. And it was Sari that said Sierra's in charge, she controls Brad, and Brad controls Troy. Mm-hmm. And that's how that ranking works. And that's why they say take care of Sierra, we can take care of that group.
Someone said something about these idiots or whatever, and they showed a clip of, I think, Troyzan, Brad, and Ty, as like the B-roll when they're talking about like these bozos, which, definitely doesn't rule out Brad, because my merge episode was one of the most negative episodes for a winner, I think, in the history of Survivor. Like there were like 6 different people, I think, that they showed talking negatively about me. So they are known to do this around the merge, where they put in some doubt in your mind. But it certainly didn't look great either.
I actually liked that about last season, in that I didn't think the winner was obvious. I didn't think it was obvious it was going to be you until we got near the end. And as soon as Jay went, that's when the episode started to roll in your favor. But I thought last season was edited well, and that they kept pushing us in different directions as to who could be winning, who could be getting the winner's edit. Yeah. And I know
people thought it was Dave, even right until he was voted out, I think.
Yeah,
all right. All yours, David.
It should have been Jessica, though.
God damn it, it should have been. Next time. I'll get it next time.
That damn rock.
I know. So mad.
Yeah, don't show Jessica a rock.
Seriously.
So what was y'all's thought when Ozzy said, right when they were looking for that second volunteer, because Brad had already volunteered and put the pressure on the other tribe, when Ozzy said, I don't think I can do it. He looked at his group and said he can't do it. And my first thought was, well, I want you to do it because I don't want you getting stronger for the next group of challenges. But then I thought about it. I said, well, he's saying, I'm your provider. I need strength to provide for you people, so I can't pass on this meal. What did y'all think about him saying that? He's the only one that really pointed out.
Ozzy's he's been playing up, and he had been playing up the I'm the provider role, and so that just kind of fits with Ozzy, where like Ozzy's like the dad always gets the biggest piece of chicken. Like, Ozzy's like, I bring you the food, so I should get more food. And I understand that, because when you're out there playing the game, like I would always try to make sure that Ken and Jay got more food than other people, because they were the ones going out fishing, and they were really using a lot of their energy to feed us. So I thought it was only fair. So it kind of makes sense when you're in that mentality and you're seeing what you're providing for everyone to say, like, listen, I can't afford to do this because I'm expending so much energy to feed you.
Yeah. Yep. I did like Debbie and Brad making up. I was hoping that was going to happen.
Yeah, she jumped on top of him.
Yeah, she did. Gave him a kiss and everything.
Is there any chance that that whole blow up was kind of just Debbie playing up for the cameras a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the whole thing was a con.
It was weird.
Certainly her behavior at the feast was a ploy for camera time or something like that. There's no real reason why you would pretend to be. It's not strategic. Or is it? Am I missing something?
Well,
is that going to help?
She captured an entire episode with that.
Right.
I mean...
And she, Debbie's a smart lady, and her a lot of her appeal is based on her kookiness and these blow-ups, and she knows what brings in the dollar bills and gets her back on future seasons, I think.
Man, yeah. I mean, I remember saying on the podcast afterwards, on the episode afterwards, that this feels like a scam. It feels like she can't be this crazy.
Yeah.
There was some really weird stuff going on. And even her acting drunk, to me, that was over and above. It was like she's trying to act like she thinks drunk people act. Like Jessica right now is drunk, but you can't even tell.
I am not drunk.
No, Jessica, we know you. I know what you look like when you're drunk. You're plastered. It's okay. It's fine.
I know you're drunk.
I can see your drunk eyes, Jessica. I can see
it's all in those drunk eyes.
It's all in the drunk eyes.
It's that spiked pomegranate juice that you're drinking.
That's what it is. And those chips are just filled with dip.
Yeah.
Cannabis chips. I think he's right on point though, because I think Debbie is feeding the production machine. She's giving them the words they want. She's giving them the actions they want. When things get too quiet, she stirs things up. And then the Ozzy thing, a big move. They love big moves coming out of everybody, and she's going to do it when she feels like doing it.
In defense of Debbie, and I do need to head out relatively soon, but in defense of Debbie, what I will say is that and I know I've talked about the edit a lot, but in that episode where she blew up at Brad, a lot of the content that you saw after the reward challenge actually happened as far as I can tell after the immunity challenge. So when she's saying some of the things about like, oh, Haley was terrible in the challenge, I think that she's actually referring to the immunity challenge and not necessarily the reward challenge, in which she did better. And I think the reason I know that it is, someone found this out, that or in her secret scene, they showed her talking about the immunity challenge, and then they looked at where she was sitting in the episode, and the confessional that they used in the episode was in the same location where they had her interview after the immunity challenge. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it does, but she specifically mentioned how long she stayed on the balance beam and stuff.
Yeah, on the balance beam.
But there were balance beams in both challenges.
Well, darn you, CBS. I mean, come on, stop.
No, Dwayne, they would never manipulate us like that. They would.
Well, they and I don't blame them for doing it, because they can't show what happens after the immunity challenge for the tribe that wins immunity.
Correct.
So they have to change up the timing, either show it in the next episode or earlier on in the episode.
Yeah, but they specifically made it so that we thought it was the reward challenge.
Yeah.
Which made her look crazy.
It made her look more crazy. Oh, here's one more way we know that. If you someone took a freeze frame of this in the episode, you can see the immunity idol in the background of one of the shots before the immunity challenge.
Wow!
How about that?
Ooh! How about that?
Yeah, it's like those scenes when two people are walking down the beach in episode 12, and yet they have no hair on their face, right? And they try to make it like it's episode 12.
Yeah,
like,
or
wow.
they change the color of their buff.
Yeah, it's like did Varner shave? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to say you guys are awesome. Hello, I miss you, Jessica.
I miss you too, Adam.
Thanks for letting me crash for a little bit.
Thank you, Michaela.
What's that?
Thank you, Michaela, for sneaking up on us.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, that was great.
What you got there?
Yeah.
Hey, look! I'm doing it, guys.
Yes.
I'm doing it.
Yes.
What's that? What's
that?
Hey,
we're not allowed to tell you, Adam.
Oh no.
We're not allowed to tell you.
Just take your little teacup and go drink your little tea somewhere else.
But we're all doing it. Hey, don't steal a chicken.
All the time with the "What you got there" line that Michaela used when she snuck up on Jay and Will.
What you got there?
I remember that.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Adam.
Have a good night. Bye, Adam.
Later, everybody. Thanks, everybody who's watching.
Bye.
I'm glad we could bring you all together, Jessica.
I know. It's so good.
Yeah.
I love him. He's great.
Who was that guy again?
Yeah.
Just pop that to our screen.
Gosh. Why do people think they could just come on our show? Who do they think they are?
How like they won Survivor or something.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Doesn't he know it's like $500 just to appear on our show?
Yeah, really.
Except for Jessica, we paid her.
So getting back to Survivor. Go ahead.
I'm not getting paid.
No,
that would
none
be
of us
awesome.
are. Don't worry about it.
See, Dwayne, we've already talked about this beforehand. She thought she was, and she's not, so that's okay.
I never thought I was.
No, all
Making
this.
stuff
No.
up.
Yeah, this is all. Yeah.
So we're at the merge, so to speak, and we actually had a conversation on the Facebook group where if you watch live, you should get in our Facebook group. How was the Zeke story going to come out? And I really thought we would get a showing of someone privately revealing it to one person and then it going from there. But because it sure seemed like people were ready to turn on Zeke right away in these next 2 hours of episode. And people were ready to start voting out Zeke. Even Cerise said he can't go to the end because he's going to win. Debbie agreed.
He's got the story. I mean, he's got the story now. I never thought anybody on his tribe was going to out him because, I mean, if they did, well, because they all went crazy when Varner said something about it. In fact, they even got mad at Ty for defending Varner. and for actually having some sense.
Well, it's funny.
Recognizing that Varner was incredibly apologetic for what he did, felt terrible for what he did. And but anyway, so my thought was, if it's going to get told, Zeke's going to tell it. And
I would not have been surprised if it came out from one player to another just in private. But yeah, the first segment of the show is like closing out the Zeke moment, because like the first little segment, and at the end it was Sarah and Ty, and Ty gets choked up thinking about Varner, or wanting to show compassion, and Sarah said, "That's okay that you forgive him, but I don't." But to me, that compassion from Ty comes back at the merge feast for his compassion for his tribe mates, and that they will enjoy it more than I will, and that's just the type of person Ty is.
Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm.
But we get, somebody says, I want to hear the Jeff story, and we get Zeke saying 5 minutes into tribal, and if that tribal was 2 hours long, then they talked about that for 2 hours. That I could see why it wore him down.
Well, okay, 5 minutes into tribal is, to me, an example of hyperbole, right? The point is, it was early in tribal. Yeah, it's like lawyers; they say stuff that may not be completely true, but it's to get a point across.
You know what? I don't agree with that. I like to use analogies and things to get people to understand, but I'm not going to make stuff up.
Right. But but seriously, I think he was just using hyperbole there.
I wouldn't say 4 minutes, 59 seconds. Yeah, just early on. I loved how we got Brad and Troyzan and Ozzy reconnecting. This is what the merge is about. And this is the neat – okay, I'm going to say this about the merge feast. I forgot to say. I was so glad that we did not get a narration of we had pineapple, we had ham, we had this, we had that. Yeah. All we got was juicy conversations about relationships and alliances and getting back together. I love that stuff. That was spot on.
Who needs to know that they had grapes? I can see them on the mat.
And they're like having ham, a fresh pig with flies on them. Like, give me the flies. I don't care.
Ham, like literally it was a pig.
Yeah,
exactly.
Isn't it funny how they never show us the tribe an hour after they ate to their stomach's content?
You don't want to see that.
They're all in the ocean.
That's right.
It's bad.
Every single one of them. I need 25 yards of space, please. 25 yards of space.
But there's also a lot of sharing going on. It seems like these folks are really trusting of each other because they're talking about who they've got. I mean, they're going to be voting out Ozzy here pretty soon, but it's about who they've got and who they're working with. And I love how Brad says, and we've got Debbie in our back pocket, and Ozzy says, we all have Debbie in our back pocket. So,
but Debbie once was a professional back pocket person,
occupier.
Yeah. She once occupied a back pocket for 3 months, unpaid, so she would teach other people how to be pocket lint.
And she has an 8-pack. Don't forget about that.
Oh yeah, here I'll show you my 8-pack. No, you don't want to see that.
No,
mine's a double keg. That's what it is.
But so we finally get a reason from Brad why to get rid of Michaela, that she may be good at challenges. And I think if they've been watching her, they should see that she is good in challenges. She's aggressive in challenges. Sierra talks about her being shifty and tough to be around. So the argument is for Michaela. Of course, then she walks up on Sierra and Zeke. And she talks about her not having an attack, this, that, and the other.
How awesome was it that we're talking about Michaela and Abby sneaking up on people, and Adam pops into the podcast? That was just classic. I'm sorry.
Classic D&D moment.
And he wasn't even watching,
awesome. I know, that's great.
I'm surprised that it took Michaela this long to ask Zeke, what have you told people about me?
Yeah.
We finally got that question in this episode. That was a great moment. I really liked that. And he said what I thought was too much. He said, I forget everything he said, but one thing he did say was that you're good in challenges. Oh, and that you don't hide your emotions while you wear them on your face.
Right.
Yes, he did say that.
And that happens to you. Man, you got to be able to think quickly on your feet. I think you said that, though, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
That's what I like when Zeke closed out the Zeke recap at the beginning. He said, you got to be tough, resilient, and adaptable. And I thought those were 3 great points that he made right at the beginning of the show.
Mike K goes, the Adam Klein moment in your podcast was obviously scripted. Actually, Mike, that was from 4 episodes ago, and we edited it into this one.
We just snuck it in.
Yeah.
We all knew what was happening at the merge, so we just talked
about it.
We pretended.
By the way, so I didn't get to say this. If someone came up on me and I had just been talking about them with Sierra, number one, how cool is it that I'm talking to Sierra? But number 2, they go, so what are you talking about me? I'm going, you have pretty eyes? I would be told, I would have no idea what to say. Or I would have to
you've always got to have some kind of like backstory. Like you always have to have something that, like some cover story ready to go. Right. You just have to.
And
we were talking about how great your braids look in your hair. That's what we were doing.
And who stuttered? Sierra stuttered, and Zeke said, "We're washing clothes."
Yes,
and that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And Sierra's like, "Yeah, washing clothes." Not talking
Sierra's
about you.
Like, but my clothes are back. Yeah, we're washing clothes.
My clothes are on. Oh yeah, we're washing clothes.
Like they don't even have any clothes. They're like, we're doing laundry.
Yeah. Michaela's like, you're wearing your clothes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So Jessica, let me ask: if you're walking along the beach, or maybe along the rocks, and somebody pretends to start taking pictures of you, and you suddenly slipped and fell on the rocks, and then you saw that in an episode, how would you feel about that?
That would be funny. Let me tell you, I had a very similar experience. Not that anyone was pretending to take pictures of me, but like I was walking up the beach and I was coming to see, I don't remember who was on, maybe it was David and Ken were like on the beach. So I'm walking towards them and the camera crew is there and this huge wave comes out of nowhere and just wipes me out. I mean, completely takes me out. It was horrible. And I was like, that'll be my moment. Yeah. But they didn't show that.
Didn't it kind of look like, now, I love Andrea to death, but it's kind of like, okay, there's the cameraman. Get up on the rock.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of that.
Going for my bikini moment.
And can I just
people next door to me.
And we got that on camera too, just so you know. That's on camera. Yeah, the one thing that I have to say that I'm extremely impressed about with the bravery of these women on this season who seem to all be wearing like very small bikinis, and I got to give them props. Except
for Haley. Haley's one of the prettiest girls out there. She's willing to strip in front of everybody, and she's wearing like 1920s bathing suit.
But I feel like that's such a better idea. Like it's really like nerve wracking when you're trying to figure out what kind of bathing suit, because you're like, I'm going to be doing challenges and all these various things, and like that was a big thing to like decide what kind of bathing suit you wanted to wear. And like I'm looking at these girls going, my God, like they're brave. They're really brave.
Well, doesn't CBS ultimately choose what bathing suit you bring?
They choose based on what you send them, unless they get you something else.
Right. So like for you, they said, no, you're wearing this. You're like, what is that? It's a string.
You saw what I wore. I had a great bikini. It was awesome because it was, it covered everything well. It was
there
perfect.
You go.
So Dwaine and I are on the show. They bring us a piece of cloth. They say, what's this for? Oh, this is just the first piece. There's more pieces coming in.
Yeah, there's a whole lot more pieces.
We're bringing in more. The Tent Factory called. They'll be here shortly with the bathing suit. So, but just as far as Troy's end that is actually his occupation.
Well, yeah.
The poor guy. He's a model photographer.
He
right?
really suffers for his job.
Terrible.
Yeah. So like every once in a while you'll be on Twitter, David. That's a social media site, and you'll see Troy's end like roughing it out here in the Pacific or whatever, and he shows all these pictures.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway,
so this is right around the time that Haley decides to light a fire under Michaela and get herself voted out. But this is the great Sierra Michaela moment, and I love. We already talked about it. But it's funny that Cerie says, I was Michaela at that age. I was the same person. I was the same hothead. But she says, no matter the true reality, people's perception is the reality of you.
Yes.
So you have to fake it. You have to change it. You have to adapt. And I think Debbie does that kind of well. She may be a little goofy or quirky, but Debbie can adapt to conversations. She has some of the best conversations with Sierra. And with Sarah and other people, she has some really good conversations. But like Sari said, their perception of you is reality. So if Sierra thinks that you're hard to get along with and you're going to be scary after travel, you're done. That's what they think of you. You have to change that.
Oh, yeah. No, that's one of the hardest parts of being out there is how other people are going to perceive you, because it really doesn't matter. That's why I didn't tell people I was a lawyer, because they may have preconceived notions about that and make decisions about me based on what my profession is without actually knowing what I do and the details of it. And that's what makes it very, very tricky. I mean, simple things that you wouldn't think people would judge you on, they will. So you're a mom, you have children, all of these various components become part of your story and become part of how people decide whether or not they want to work with you, whether or not they can trust you, all of these various things.
Yep.
Absolutely. So
did you tell anybody on the? I don't remember. Did you tell anybody you were a lawyer?
Nope.
Okay.
And tell anyone.
Well, if Varner had been there, he would have figured it out and outed you, and everybody would have been mad at him, and CBS would have made millions of dollars on it. Anyway, go ahead.
And then he wouldn't even have gotten recognized for leaving the game, because when they showed up for the first,
they would have just told you to leave.
Feast, well, for the merge feast, they showed up and they said, Mana getting their first look at Nuku. Varner voted out last.
Yeah, they didn't even say that. I noticed that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, just my opinion is CBS is throwing Varner under the bus and using him very badly. Yep. So anyway, go on.
So Andrea wins a very boring immunity challenge. Whatever, hold a block in your head, stand up.
Although, okay, let's talk about that. All right.
Oh gosh,
I'm sorry. I get 5 words in the whole freaking podcast. And you're anyway. Actually,
shall we talk about your microphone?
Anyway,
no. I'll take the immunity challenge for $500. Let's go.
Okay. Anyway,
I was trying to help you, David.
Anyway, so if you're in that challenge, why in the world would you start off on your tippy toes?
Well, they said you had to stand on your toes.
Well, then, okay, if that's the case, then why was Ty and other people flat-footed?
It's like the balls of their feet is where some of them were standing.
Yeah, that's where you're supposed to be, is on the balls of your feet. That's what Jeff said at the beginning, so I can only assume that that's what they were supposed to do.
Well, I just remember watching it, and I was looking at, okay, he's on his tiptoes or balls of his feet or whatever, and he's sitting, and his whole foot's flat on there.
I didn't notice. I'll have to go back and look.
That's what it seemed like to me. Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. Well, then
it might have been where they were able to balance, because it wasn't so much a stand there and hold the block. It was a prop yourself between the block and the wood. So it might have been where they stood as far as where they were able to stand straight up and down. I don't know. I saw the same thing. I saw different feet to different degrees on that block on the bottom.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's what I thought. So I could be wrong, but it looked like that to me. So now we can go on, David. Oh, go ahead. What, Jessica?
Well, I was going to say they measure you before they put you in challenges like that, so things are fair. And I don't know, maybe somebody didn't stand right. maybe they cheated a little bit.
You can measure me now. Wow, you're a lot shorter. Don't worry about that. That's all.
I'm just saying, things happen.
So somehow over the next segment, it went from Michaela to Haley. And if this was Sari not only saving Michaela, it was also smart in the sense that she brought up a very good point to Zeke and Andrea that they want to get rid of Michaela so they can bring in Haley. Because Haley's not the second vote out. We're all the second vote out. I think that's where she was thinking at that point. I thought that was pretty smart on Sari's point. So not only do we need to get them to switch, but we need to get them to, take out Haley. And I love that she told Zeke, go talk to them and let them convince you why Michaela's got to go instead of Haley. And this is Zeke. If this was Zeke's idea, all credit to Zeke. Why are we not voting out the person we think has an idol versus somebody we know probably doesn't have an idol? That was a great call. That was calling your bluff. That was superb. And I think that's probably what swayed them to go with Haley instead of Michaela.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
Why do they think Haley has an idol?
because Sierra said that she's playing more confident or differently than she did before, which to me, I didn't see much difference in the way Haley was playing.
Not really showing us a whole lot of Haley.
No, Haley's just kind of, she's been in the minority almost ever since the swap. So I don't know what else she could do. She's living day by day, but
I just couldn't figure out why Ty's standing right there. He's got idols everywhere, and Haley's
They're like
there.
falling out of his clothes.
Out of his pants, it's like, oh.
He's just wearing them around at this point.
That's just Ty.
Yeah, I'm calling this part of the shelter. I'm putting my idols on both ends. I'm calling this part of the shelter. Yeah. It's funny because Sierra's like, Haley's not coming to us. She's playing too confident. And Haley's like, nobody's coming to me. Nobody wants to talk to me. So I don't know. I guess they don't like me. So it's like, if y'all would just go talk to each other, that would end the whole conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Oh, well.
Let's see. So they get him to switch it. I love Sierra to Michaela. I'm trying to save your life, your kid.
By the way, can we go back to Haley? Haley's a lawyer, right?
Yes.
Right. I don't know about you, but you put Jessica in the courtroom against Haley, and Jessica's kicking her butt.
Thank you.
I mean, Haley's like, well, I could show you if you want, but I'm not going to do it unless you ask me. And Jessica be like, I'll do it right now. I ain't going to wait on you asking me. I'm going to show you. Anyway.
She's a much more, I almost want to say demure as far as her approach to how she has a conversation with people and how she talks about things. And it's almost like you don't think she knows what's going on because of the way in which she to you. But I don't know if that's
she does, right.
She is. But yeah, and that's the thing. It's like she actually does know what's going on, but it's just the way that she kind of questioned, like, has she been listening for the last 5 minutes? But yeah, she seems to know what's going on.
So she may be one of those that kind of surprises you at the end of the entire case in front of the court.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
You're like, I didn't even think she was here, much less know all that. Yeah. I mean, what the heck kind of closing?
You gotta hide your cards sometimes. You know,
you
don't reveal everything until the end.
That's right.
So while Dwaine was scouring Tennessee for one cable, the only cable apparently in
no
Tennessee.
One sells mini USB cables anymore.
I watched a little bit of Haley's Ponderosa video while I had a chance, and apparently she has passed on what she calls 2 career lawyer jobs to come play Survivor twice. So, she considers that her. Yeah, to me, I'm nothing against Haley, but it's her words. It's kind of an immature thing because she's like, I'm just telling the world I'm not ready. You can forget you. I'm going to go do what I want. I'm like, you've passed on 2 jobs, 2 lawyer jobs.
Yeah, but what if it was like filing in the basement?
I don't think it was that necessarily.
I don't know. I've watched Better Call Saul. I know what happens in lawyer firms.
Anyway,
go ahead.
I just took this as a young person that got the degree, but she's just not ready to start that part of her life.
I don't know. I mean,
don't know.
Who knows?
Well, no, you just watch Ponderosa. I'm not making judgments off that. But then, but anyway, so Cirie closes that part of it with, like Jessica said earlier, she needs Michaela to follow through with the Zeke vote, and she will follow through with the Michaela vote. Mm-hmm. So that was really good. Committed.
Can someone? Okay, I only watched it once, and admittedly, I was distracted while I was watching it, so I really don't have a complete comprehension of everything that happened. Either that, or I was drinking too much of this water from the bathroom sink. But why was Cirie voting? Did Cirie voting for Michaela actually help Michaela, or was that just what's going on here?
That helps Cirie. That helps Cirie because Cirie still looks like she didn't talk to Michaela. The whole plan was Michaela can't know what's going on.
And so therefore,
Cirie
it does help Michaela.
To cover her own butt. Okay. It helps Michaela and it helps Cirie, yes.
Gotcha.
Because it looks like the 2 of them aren't working together.
Gosh, I like Cirie.
Not only cover with Sierra and Brad and Troy and them, but also to cover with Ozzy and Andrea and Zeke. It lets her know that she worked with the majority for the first vote. That gives her at least 2 to 3 more days to figure something out with Michaela to get further down the line.
Now, how do they? Okay, Jessica.
And I love that she pulled that off. Yes.
How do you know who voted for whom? Or whom voted for whom?
See, that's interesting you don't know who voted for who, but when you go back to camp, people try to figure it out, and sometimes you just say, I did, or people will admit it, and they'll kind of count the numbers and figure it out. And people pay attention to handwriting. It's a little crazy.
Yeah. I was going to say handwriting, I think it's got a little bit to do with it because people do talk about that.
And then some people have like a little signature on it, basically.
Yeah.
That wasn't mine. There's a heart over the I. That was you.
Like Ty will put a face with tears because he doesn't want to vote anybody out. So
right.
All right.
So Haley got votes from. I wrote down Haley. Haley didn't vote for Haley. Brad, Troy, Debbie, Ozzy, Aubrey, and Ty. Sierra, Sarah, Zeke, Andrew voted for Michaela, and Haley and Michaela voted for Zeke.
Okay.
I love what. So Probst is trying to tell them all, you better start working hard now. We want to see action because every vote from here on becomes part of your resume should you make it to the end.
Right.
And to me, that actually stirred up the second half of the episode because that's all of a sudden everybody wants to be the maker of the move to add it to their resume.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. So you think Probst put that in? You think they were actually affected by what Probst said at the end of Tribal Council?
Absolutely not. I think the edit wanted to make Probst look smart by editing the second hour so that everybody looked like they were trying to stir a move.
Yeah, Probst actually says 12 different things, and then they use one of them.
That's what I'm talking about.
He is amazing, let me tell you. It's incredible. Yeah.
Just like last week, they ran that challenge with 10 different words, but they ended up using metamorphosis.
No, what they did was production had gotten involved, and they changed the word at the last minute. That's what they did.
Metamorphosis?
Yeah, absolutely. Since when does metamorphosis it's like Probst, like a word we say in Survivor? No, that's not a word you said in Survivor.
I tell you what, if you want to listen to two survivors talk about last week's episode in detail in a way that they know they'll never get back on the show.
Yeah, it's like, guess what, CBS? Don't even bother calling us.
So somebody asked me to listen to this podcast, and it's all the fixins. It's Max and Corinne, and I usually don't listen to it because it's not family friendly. It's definitely not safe for work. But I went and listened to like the first hour of it, and they let them have it. And they talk about all kinds of things, behind the scenes things, and it's kind of worth to listen to. But take your earbuds because you can't listen to it in front of your kids or anybody else. But it was interesting, and they had some words about last week too. Obviously,
I may go listen to that.
It's a very good informational podcast for that episode. So now Sari has Michaela by the braids, like we said, because she knows that she saved her. But this is where we start getting Zeke breaking away from the pack because Sierra asks Zeke what's going on, and Zeke says, I feel like you need to tell me because I feel like you're more in the know than I am. And here's where we start getting Zeke saying, I'm not used to being the one not in control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dun,
dun.
Yeah, really. This is where they talk about what Adam said. Adam, who was just on the show. Sierra controlling Brad controlling Troyzan, and time to vote out Sierra. Let me find something interesting to talk about. Oh, I love Aubrey's point of seeing herself between two Italian families. And that's neat because it's funny because editing has showed us this from the beginning, and we saw the families work together to take out the ones they don't need. But now the families are actually going to have to separate because somebody's claimed Michaela. She's now been claimed by a family, and now the families are going to have to divide. But the neat thing is we've still got connections between the families with the guys, like Ozzy and Culpepper. They still seem to be connected. Yeah. So this is kind of neat in this merge that we don't actually have two completely behind the fighting factions. We've got an intermingling going on there. So people got to decide who to work with and who not to work with.
Mm-hmm.
So did either one of you?
Sarah brought up a good point about that too. She's like, I feel like everyone's like going out on a date kind of thing, and she's like, if everyone is looking for a date. Yeah, I thought that it is a good point. They're all kind of doing their own thing.
Now, is that smart? So I know, Dwaine, you got a point real quick, but I'm going to ask about what you just said about Sarah. Was that smart of Sarah to say, I'm out on my own, so whichever one of y'all want to work with me, let me know? Or basically, you can vote me out next because I'm not committed to either one of you?
I don't think it's a bad play because it does give you some ability to be utilize, and you've got to play. You've got something you can offer. Like, listen, I'm not tied down to these people. I can always work with you as well. So It's not a bad move, but announcing it at Tribal Council might not be a great move.
That's what I was thinking. Can he bring us something? No.
Yeah. That does explain what
my husband had to bring me a cord. I was letting him know I needed a cord. My battery's running low. So
David was talking, and this is what Jessica was doing. and I thought she's
I'm used
calling
to it.
somebody to come bring her something.
I'm used to it.
I've done
always texting and messaging while I'm trying to talk. Yeah.
I know. I noticed. I was like, I don't want to screw this up for you guys again. I already screwed it up.
You did well, because usually Dwaine will say a minute later exactly what I just said.
My God.
Like,
Jessica just fell.
Good thing she's already on the floor.
Yeah.
I know, right? And now my cords are all messed up. Oh, this is terrible.
Fell. Hey, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. Jessica's going to sue herself.
What happened to my cords? I don't even know what happened here. This is crazy.
Wow, Jessica, that is really messed up.
I know. How did I do this?
Look at that. You're going to get electrocuted just messing with it.
Okay, now this is going to be tough because I got to.
Oh my gosh! Please don't plug that in. No, don't plug it in. We love you too much. Because we love you too much, we don't want you to die.
I'm not going to die. We're going to be good. Ready?
Right.
Here we go.
Here we go.
See, we're all good.
Okay. Why is your hair standing up?
Yeah. What's up with your hair? All right.
No, see, I know it's a little.
I love having Jessica on the show, David. She's amazing.
So
seriously, I'm just, David, you can try to avoid the subject, but I really like having her on. I know you didn't want to, but I really like having her on.
Yes, he made me reach out to you.
Now the truth comes out. The truth comes out.
That's right.
No. See, I'll be doing something, and David will text me and go, "I've been talking to Jessica." I'm like, what happened to making a group message so I can get involved in this? And they'll go, "Yeah, I was talking to so and so." Hello, here I am. Just
next time he does it, I'll yell at him and say, "We need to invite David." I'll get it all. We'll get it all set up.
There you go.
And then we'll just keep talking, and then we'll decide later to bring him into the conversation.
Whatever.
Actually, did you catch that rabbit? Are you done? Okay, we're good. We'll go on to. How many rabbits have you gone after? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh man.
So, one thing I love about this season that I'm thoroughly enjoying, just like with the food things, where we don't hear about the food, we hear about what's going on, is that one person's not leading every conversation. There are at least 2 to 3 smart people in every conversation, and we're getting good feedback from that. What I thought was funny, though, was when Sari was talking to Zeke, and she was saying, we are solid with Zeke, Andrea, Sari, and Sarah. And then I'm thinking, Aubrey is standing right there if you want to include Aubrey, because she's like standing right beside you, and you're not talking about her. And then she says, you'd be 5, and then who she says, Michaela and Ozzy be 6 and 7. I'm like, Aubrey's standing right there. Are you giving Aubrey a reason to go to the other side? Because I'm thinking you ought to act like she's really in the group. Make people feel like they're really in the group. So that got me thinking. And I talked to a co-wronger this morning. Sorry, Dwaine, without you. But
it's okay.
Because they asked me what I thought of the episode. I get texts every now and then.
He's like hiding behind his microphone. Do you see that?
I'm ignoring him. As long as you keep talking, I won't see him. I'll just see you. He's gonna sneak up on his microphone. So my other
such a big microphone. All right, go ahead, David.
Just another bunny. So anyway, so
I'm going to control myself right now.
My final thought was, and it goes back to Sandra being one of the smartest people to play, is not only Haley was close. Haley was right. Ozzy wasn't the right vote. And the co-wrong 3, I think, are going to have an effect on the direction of this season. You got Ty with his idols.
Yes.
You got Debbie making moves, and you got Aubrey kind of in the middle like Sarah, but silently in the middle. I think Aubrey could flip just as well. And I think those 3 are going to have an effect. I don't know if any of them are going to go deep, but we're getting to a point where people are going to start flipping and changing things. And those 3 are still in the game. And Sandra brought it up weeks ago. Those 3 cannot still be in the game late in the game.
Yeah. And she actually she tweeted last night too about how Ozzy, like I meant it when I told you I wanted to work with you, and that they were going to come after you, and look what happened. So yeah, I think Sandra knows what's going on, what people's play was going to be.
Yeah, I can't see unless Aubrey starts making a big move and starts taking control of her game, but I don't see those three winning any of those three, but I see those three having an effect on the end of the game, getting to that point.
Aubrey's been very quiet this season. It's a much different Aubrey than we saw before. She seems more to be, and I don't know if they wanted to show this, but in one of the conversations, if this is the way it was meant to be portrayed, I don't remember who she was with, but there was 3 of them walking, and 2 were kind of in front of her talking, and then she was like following behind, and it was almost like she was a shadow and wasn't involved in the conversation, which I thought was very telling.
Never said a word.
That was the Cerise, Zeke, and Andrea moment. She was talking about how tight they were, and then she mentioned Aubrey, but she didn't mention her right away. Yeah, that was like she's right there. Yeah.
I didn't know if that was at the same, because to me, I saw that as very strange. Like, she must feel like not involved at all because of the way that even just the walking is taking place.
Or they didn't know she was there. She walks so quietly.
They always know when Michaela's there because she walks right up. But yeah, she
I'm sorry, I'm tired.
But now you got me wondering about Aubrey's edit, because like Adam was talking about, not all winners get great edits or perfect edits. Aubrey has not gotten a bad edit, but when
it's not bad edit.
When she played Go Wrong, she had Joe. This season, she doesn't have a Joe. She's got a Cerie and a Zeke and an Andrea. And I don't think Aubrey feels as though she has to be in the lead. She doesn't need to be the king, the big move changer, the vote announcer. She's good to go along until her time comes to strike.
Yeah.
I agree. I do agree. Yeah. Well, and she's doing what Zeke should be doing. Where Zeke was like, I need to be in charge. Whereas Andrea, she's letting everybody else kind of do all of the work and going along. She knows what's going on. She's very aware of the relationships, but she's quieter, which I think it's an interesting dynamic to watch because she is the one you said who talked about it being the 2 families, and it really she sees everything and she gets it.
Wait, are you talking about Andrea or Aubrey?
Aubrey.
Oh, okay.
Aubrey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you said Andrea, and I just wanted to make sure so we don't confuse people.
Oh no, Aubrey. I apologize. Yeah. So
no,
I just feel. Yeah, I think that that she's. Now, was she the one who described it as the 2 families, or was that Andrea?
That was Aubrey that said it's 2 Italian families. But then she called Cerie first she said her grandmother, then realized how wrong
and
that
then
was.
Her aunt.
And then her aunt. Yes, definitely the aunt. Definitely the aunt.
Yes, definitely the aunt.
Yeah, it's like, okay, please don't show that. And CBS goes, show that.
So in our chat room, Vader Girl has a good point that Aubrey has been on the wrong side of the votes at Tribal. And she's not voting right, and that speaks volumes to where she is right now. She might be in the wrong group because she flat out said, if I can play under Cerie, I'll play under Cerie, number wise. And to me, that's still them thinking they got Sarah, whereas Sarah calls herself a free agent at Tribal, but at the same time she's voted with Sierra and Culpepper, when the times come up for that. So let's see what else.
Y'all know what I'm about to do.
Take a nap?
I can only imagine.
Go get in the shower?
You see that stupid red light behind me?
Yeah, the clock.
The clock?
It's driving me nuts. I'm going to go move it. It's been bugging me the whole show. I'm like...
I hadn't even noticed it until you just...
I hadn't either. I'm too stuck on that green lamp. I haven't even noticed the clock.
It's right by the green lamp.
Right.
No, but seriously, I mean, you're all going to see me go back there and move the clock.
We won't see anything because your microphone's going to block the whole view.
My microphone.
You're going to moon the clock?
Big.
You said you're going to moon the clock like Debbie?
Well, I could.
Oh
gosh, what the heck? Her and Ty. What? Ty running around?
Yeah.
Naked?
He was having a good time.
Golly. All right, I'll be right back. That's driving me nuts.
Okay, we'll miss you when you're gone.
Oh, now let me tell you the real story.
We can talk about him now.
That's right. So one thing that's confusing about Zeke is his strategy. No, all I see is you. I don't see him. What's he doing?
He was like dancing or something. I'm not sure.
He didn't take anything off, did he? Okay.
No, he didn't.
I got to show you I was actually wearing shorts and not.
Well, you distracted her enough that you broke our conversation.
It's actually a good thing I was wearing shorts because I was planning on not wearing shorts. I had to purposely put shorts on because I had just forget.
Please don't tell us any more of where this is going. Yeah.
Well, I am in the bathroom.
Dude, I don't want to know where you're sitting. So anyway, what's confusing me about Zeke is I loved his strategy. I think it was last season and part of this season of I need to keep targets around me, meat shields in front of me, so I'm not the target.
Yeah.
But here he is jumping in front of Suri and Andrea to try and make decisions and be the leader. And that's kind of both sides of the wrong side of the strategy and right side of the strategy. Why would you want to get rid of people like that when you can work with them for a while and keep them in front of you, including Ozzy? Well, he didn't vote out Ozzy, but why wouldn't you want to, him going to Suri and Culpepper just was, obviously I think it was too early. It's easy to say now watching the episode, but it doesn't fit up with him wanting to keep targets in front of him.
That is true.
And I think his other problem there is he's now trying to align himself with people that don't trust him. I mean, Sierra is like, why would I even want to work with Zeke? Because I can't trust him at all. And it makes sense that she would feel that way because they haven't been working together. So the whole thing was just, it's a bad decision because he's turning his back on the people that he needs, and the people that he's trying to work with don't want to work with him. So it certainly backfired because then all of a sudden he was getting voted for.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if not next week, then he probably goes the week after that.
Yeah, I think his time is soon.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely. People would be stupid to keep him in the game. They would be.
Oh, it's so much better without that clock behind you. It was so frustrating.
Well, now I don't keep having this little red dot, and I'm going, what's going on?
Oh, it's so dark.
Is there a bomb in my room?
Now you're not going to wake up tomorrow because the alarm clock's not going to go off.
No,
so
I don't use that.
So we get to a reward challenge in the second hour where you really need to know how to count fish to win this challenge.
Yeah, that's true.
But before we get to that, if step 2 of the challenge was to untie the fish from the net, how did one fish get untied and float away from Sarah and Culpepper?
Sometimes things go awry. All right,
Miss, I need to get back on the show so I got to defend CBS. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No, I really do think that, we've had, during some of our challenges, like, they had to stop what we were doing because something got messed up. And, like, for example, the bucket challenge, we had to keep our hands above our heads.
Mm-hmm.
That actually, they do a countdown, 3, 2, 1, so then everyone knows to release the buckets. And within, immediately they released the buckets and almost everybody's bucket dumped on everybody who was standing there. And it, swear to God. So then they had to, because we hadn't been explained how we were supposed to do something. And so it got messed up. So they had to reset everything. We literally had to get washed off because we were covered in colorful paint. Right. It was crazy. So that stuff happens. It definitely happens where something gets messed up and yeah,
that's why all y'all's hair looked freshly washed.
Yeah, they were washing us with Fiji water. Yeah. So it happens.
Wow. That's pretty cool. All right, go ahead, David.
But yeah, I saw it always works out. Probst announces there needs to be 2 fish on each hook, and then sure enough, you get a picture. I'm like, don't they see? I was looking for the hook with 3 fish because surely they didn't have that 1 fish by itself when they took off running. Poor Tom. Did you see it? Yeah.
No. Why would Probst tell them they're missing a fish when they're swimming away from the stuff? Why not let them make the mistake?
He didn't tell them. He just was announcing they may have AR'd it in or put it in afterwards that he said you need 2 fish on every hook.
No. I'm talking about earlier.
Oh, well, because
the fish was behind them.
The tribe was telling them too.
The tribe was yelling.
Yeah, the tribe was yelling.
It was Probst.
Mm-hmm. And then Probst, then Probst jumped on too.
In fact, Probst didn't tell Andrea and Ty. It was Troyzan and Ozzy that told him. And then Probst starts yelling, they don't have all their fish. They got to come back.
Oh, okay.
Then Ty tries to run back, which I thought was hilarious. Andrea's like, no, we got to take the pole with us and get all the fish back. And turns out Ty didn't untie it. So it was still in the net. I mean, it wasn't like they just missed it. It was still tied into the net. So, But I got to say,
didn't untie it.
Ty didn't untie it. You got that good. But I have to say, as simple as it looked, that looked like kind of a hard puzzle. That did not look easy.
Yeah, that would frustrate me. But, man, Zeke just –
yeah, well, that's Zeke. He might be probably the best puzzler they got. So Sarah gets the confessional. Now, I liked how they showed at the end of Andrea's win, she got the exit confessional, which I think is great because they always try to trick us by telling us, well, I'm not going home. That's all I know this week, even though the person didn't win immunity. Sometimes they give us a person going out. Give us the immunity winner. Let them tell us a little bit about what's going to happen. But this time we got Sarah at the reward, that she still feels like she's in the middle. She'll go with whoever wants to vote out, who she wants to vote out. So that could be dangerous. That's kind of how she got knocked out in Cagayan, though, that she was waiting to decide who she wanted to go with. But all three of us, I'm sure, felt for Suri when they got back to camp, and she felt like she let her own kids down by being the last person and couldn't get the puzzle working.
This is the second time they have shown us people at camp getting real, and I like it.
Mm-hmm. I agree because I feel like too much of that gets lost. A lot of stuff happens at camp. I mean, because obviously it's 24/7 that you're there and they're filming you, and I feel like those moments are really so special. And there's so many things that happened during our season that they never showed that I thought were great moments just to show people bonding and people getting along and just different things happening. So it's nice to see that people are just like downtrodden and they're crying and they're really like having a hard time. I think that's important.
Okay,
is this telling me to stop talking?
No, I just want to make sure David doesn't, because you give David the reins and it's like, and I love it because I don't know anything tonight. But so last week we apparently asked the wrong person because last week we were talking about how I was talking about how I enjoyed this, and I bet this kind of stuff happens all the time. And Sarge goes, nah, but it does, doesn't it?
Oh, those moments, absolutely.
Yeah. Sarge is just like he walks out because he don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, I think that it's. I mean, I don't know if we really had any. I mean, when you lose, you do feel broken, and you're upset and you're sad, but that's when because you're playing a game, but you're also still like you're a person and you're hungry and you're bummed because you didn't win, and all those things they do happen. It happens a lot, but there's also fun moments, or moments where you're like laughing and having a great time. So it's when those are real moments.
Right. So when you're in that moment, do you feel like I still have to be careful what I say because I don't want them to use this against me?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, it's really hard to have that moment because you can't really completely have it.
You have to remind yourself that you're still playing a game. Like when right after we had the tribal where David played an idol for me, and we came back to camp, like my head was spinning. Like I had so many things going through my brain that when we got back to camp, the last thing I wanted was to be around anybody. I was like, I don't want to see these people. I have to like process all of this. Like, how am I going to like be here? What am I going to do? And so I put down my torch and I immediately walked away. Like I just started to head out. And all of a sudden I hear David say, well, you're probably all wondering why I did that. And I was like, damn it. You're playing a game, Jessica. Go back in there and talk to these people. You can't like go and walk away because the game continues. And so you have those times where you have to remind yourself, like no matter how upset you are, no matter how frustrated you are right now, you still got to get in there and you got to deal with it because it's a game. Yeah, so it's crazy. It's definitely very strange.
Yeah. Can I get back in the conversation?
Shut up.
I like.
Shut up, David.
There was a couple moments like this. I just want to compliment what you're bringing up, Dwaine, because it's finally good to talk about something that you want to talk about. But anyway, at the first segment.
That's so sweet.
No, he's being very mean to me. I'm going to hide behind my microphone.
At the end of the first segment.
I can't even see him anymore.
Shh, don't tell him. Don't tell him. So
Okay.
at the end of the now this only works on YouTube.
It's too much.
This doesn't work on the audio.
Oh my word.
It only works on YouTube. So
Too much.
I'm just trying to talk about Survivor, Dwaine. So if you're ready,
I'm not doing anything.
I'm sorry, David. Go ahead.
At the end of the first segment, we get the Zeke, like the wrap up of the Zeke story. Zeke has a great point because you can see it's coming where he talks about, I didn't want people to get upset. I didn't want all this, but I knew I had to come out and talk. But there's still a task at hand. We're still in a game. And then we get Sierra at that moment you were just talking about. See, I cried last week, not because they lost, but because it was pizza. And I was telling Dwaine, I said, it's not like you're watching spices leave the reward area, or you're watching, coffee leave, or you're watching, pillows and stuff. You're watching cooked food right there, 30 feet from you, walk away from you, that you can be eating. And then Sierra comes up and just says, I keep forgetting how hard this game is. And later on, Aubrey has a great line that this season is so much harder than last season. And she's just past the halfway point. She's not even at the end like she was last time. And that's why I wanted to ask you, because I'm a big fan and I want to see you play again. If anybody deserves to play a second chance, it's the girl that got rocked out. So, I think you will.
Much. I appreciate that.
Do you already think about how much harder it's going to be? Because you're going to have to play with returning players, either split, like a fans' favorites, or all returning players, maybe second chance too. But do you already think about mentally how hard it's going to be playing with maybe a David or, a Sydney or Michelle or one of those people? Does that already stress you out thinking about, this is what I think is getting to Aubrey, is like, last time I had Joe, I didn't have to worry about Joe. I could say anything to Joe, but now I've got Sari and Andrea sitting here and Zeke. Does that stress you out at all thinking about that?
It does, because you have to play the game so much differently. When everyone's new, everyone's on an even playing field, because you're still, not only are you trying to figure out the game, you're also trying to figure out production and all of the things that go along with it, because that messes with you too. Like, you're waiting for tree mail, you don't know how this is going to go. But once you go back and play again, there are certain things you can set aside. Like, all right, I don't need to worry about production. I know how all of that works. I know what to pay. You learn to know what to pay attention to, and you learn to know what matters. And that's what you don't know when you're a new player. So it makes people so much more focused on the game, because there's so many things they don't need to think about. Like, I know how to build a shelter, or I know how to look for coconuts, or I know how to even open a coconut. These are things that you've done, so you don't have to worry about those things. So now you can focus on your game so much more. So I do think that, and for me in particular, if I ever got to play again, which I hope I do, please CBS, let me know. But is that people know I'm a lawyer, and that's one of the things that, like, I didn't want people to know about me going into the game, but now people know that about me. And so how is that going to affect my game moving forward? So there's a whole lot of things that you end up having to worry about that you didn't necessarily think about before, and things you can focus on more than you could the first time you played. Yeah, and
CBS is watching, so just let you know. But
I'm sure they are.
But you also know, when moments are coming when you can't talk. When times are coming that you have to talk. This is your one chance to get in that conversation. I know how far I can walk now. I know when I shouldn't leave, when I should leave. But it's funny because Ozzy is going to be forever known as probably the best person ever at challenges, and Ty is going to be forever suspected of having an idol. If he ever plays again, if anybody's playing with him, you have to suspect he always has an idol.
Right.
He's just an idol magnet. So what Andy Baker and I were talking a couple weeks ago about what we came up with called the second chance sweet spot. And what we came up with was kind of interesting. It has to do with people like Sierra and Haley and maybe Culpepper. And what it is Zeke and Mo cannot fall into that sweet spot because they're playing back to back. And then you've got people like Sari and Ozzy, who are known players, and Varner, who are known players. They have that reputation. But then you got people like Culpepper, Sierra, and Haley, and even Debbie, and maybe even Aubrey, they're in that sweet spot where they've played recently. It's still in their blood, but they've also had enough seasons to attend charity events, attend finales, make relationships, start conversations with people. There's that sweet spot. Andy and I we're talking about. We were just chatting about it, and we called it that. And that to me is neat because I think we're seeing that this season. We saw the big go out. You know how you get like a tournament, and you get all these teams ranked 1 through 20. But you do a random draw, and suddenly team number 4 is playing team number 6, while team number 18 is playing team number 17. So one of them weak teams is going to advance, but one of the monster teams is going to go out early because they just got a bad draw, like JT, like Malcolm. Oh, my gosh. Malcolm went out like 2 months ago. So, that's – and it's kind of like the sweet spot where we've got these players that have relationships where they've made through charity events and finale parties, but they don't have the monster reputation like Malcolm had, like Ozzy had, like Tony had. So it's kind of a little theory that he and I came up with, and we talked about it. We just enjoyed talking about it, but it's playing in favor of some of these players that don't have that reputation. They're like, Haley's playing different, or Sierra's now suddenly the godfather, and Culpepper's this super nice guy, but it's this second chance. So this is only their second time playing, especially for people like Culpepper that went out early. So just do you ever see that? I mean, you go to events, you go to finale parties, you've been to stuff like that. Dwayne and I were at Durham Warriors the first year I got to play, and it was funny because at the wrap-up party at the end, there's a lot of food, a lot of talking, great community. But by the end of the night, all the survivors migrated to one table. Do you see that at some of the events? And it's amazing. They're sharing stories, but they're all talking. Dwayne and I are like, where'd all this stuff? Oh, they're all sitting over there at that one table.
Well, it's one of those conversations that I think Jeff had right from the beginning when we first went out there and before the game started, when you're just at Ponderosa waiting. You're now part of a Survivor family, and you really are. Like, this is something that only certain – it's unless you've actually gone through it, you don't actually understand it. And so someone else who's experienced the game, you have that special connection with. And so when you see that person, you can be a fan because you're like, wow, you were on Survivor and I love Survivor. And they can have that same reaction to you. But then you can also connect because we were both on the same show. We both went through the same experience, those emotional things that you only know about when you actually go through it. So it is very interesting because you have that connection. So yeah, I think that that's probably playing into some of the games that we're seeing because they might not have played Survivor together, but they might have hung out with each other at an event. They might have shared a room at an event, where they stayed together. I mean, all of these things that you don't. I mean, I was amazed at how many people in the Survivor family got in touch with me after I drew that rock. Like I was so touched because I was getting phone calls, I was getting messaged, and it was really like one of those moments where you start to realize there are people out there who are watching this and feeling for me because they know what that must be like because they played this game. And so that was a really incredible moment to have that. So I'm sure that those relationships are coming into play here.
That brings me to it. Totally off topic here, but that not really, because you're talking about how Survivor players have that connection, and I think, and I've talked to some Survivor players who have been on Rob's podcast, and I don't know if you know about that one. Do you know about that one? Rob's podcast?
I don't know. Maybe let me think about it. Maybe
but,
I think I've heard of that one.
But what they were saying was, it's different talking to him than anybody else, because he's been on the show. So there's that connection that, they like being on other shows and stuff, but when they're on Rob's, there's that connection there. And it's that same, it just reminded me of that. So
no, it is very true, because when you hear, like, when I hear other people critique my game, like when you would critique my game, it's one thing. But when you hear someone like Fishback or, Rob Session, like critiquing your game, you're like, ugh. Because it's like they've actually they've played, so they have that ability to relate to what they did and what they saw. So it means so it's just so different.
Right. It's like, who cares what Dwaine thinks?
No.
No.
It's not that we don't care. It's just different because when it's almost like if you were, a big football star and some other big football star is suddenly talking about your game. You're like, oh wow, it changes the perception of what they're saying because of who they are. So yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
So the reason part of this came up was I'm surprised that even from the same season, Sierra and Haley are like they've never met each other. Like I
heard they had matching tattoos.
I think the whole season got matching tattoos. I want to say the whole Dirty 30 group got matching tattoos for some reason.
Oh, okay. I just heard it was those two.
So my question is, if you went back for a second chance season and Paul was on that season, would you try to work with Paul, or do you think he'd hold a grudge, or would there be an automatic connection there that you two could work with?
I think there would be a connection. I think that Paul might have. I think there would be some lingering issues there. I mean, I still have lingering issues because I love Paul. I think he's a great guy. I had to make a decision for my game, but I would love to work with him. But I think that Paul would probably have learned a lot about his own game in the experience that we had, and I think I would use the same thing. So it would probably work to our benefit.
Well, I don't think Paul's coming back, so I don't think you have to worry about that. But that's just my opinion. But one of the neat storylines of this season that I don't think we got enough of was Suri and Ozzy. I love that those two were so nervous about each other, and here by this point they were like together. They were calm. They talked to each other like they'd known each other forever, been friends forever. And I love that they pushed aside any feelings because it was better for them in the game to stay together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love that.
All the stuff that we've just been talking about is why returning new players has its own unique fun aspect of it, but so does returning players. I don't like them mixed, but I like both of them for different reasons.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, when you have new players, you don't know what you're going to get.
Right.
When you have returning players, you know what to expect.
And you get better gameplay usually, and more strategy, and because they're not doing all that stuff that you're talking about, figuring out. It takes them 5 days to figure out what an aqua dump is, and y'all already know.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the neat thing about watching. And I relate a lot of stuff to baseball. I grew up playing baseball, and when you're playing in a league, you've got weak spots on each team. And to me, this is a newbie season. You got two teams, and there's weak spots. We can go to second because the guy's weak. We can go to third because the guy's weak, and center fielder's weak. When you're playing to an all-star game, you're like, wow, that second baseman's as good as I am. Wow, that center fielder's really good. It's a cliche to call it an all-star season, but this is another all-star season where you've got some real powerhouse. There's still some players that I wouldn't necessarily call game changers, but they it's still
Haley wouldn't call herself a game changer.
No,
that's true.
So, but anyway, just so that we get done before Saturday, let's see.
We still got feedback to do. So
after the at the spa reward.
I would love
Yes, I know you would. I thought about Jess at all. He would kill for that.
The whole shower thing.
This is where Zeke gets Debbie and Ty, and how neat that it worked out for this, and pitches the idea of going after Suri and Andrea. And Michaela, if you're listening, you could actually learn from Debbie, because her comment was, "We're on the same page." As in, I love what you're saying. I'm listening. I'd be willing to go that way. And as soon as he walks away, I'm not really buying what Zeke's selling, because Zeke's selling it. Putting them out, but because it came from Zeke, no. She says, I'm okay to make a big move. I don't know what that means to me yet, but I don't need Zeke to make that big move.
Yep.
So, I like I said, I enjoyed Debbie this week. I can't wait to see Ryan's blog. I know he's going to love Debbie this week. But
I enjoyed Debbie too.
Yeah.
I did. I mean, she was kooky, and she was super Debbie. And she's been drunk and everything, but I like that she seems to have those calm moments and those moments of clarity where she understands what's going on, and the fact that she was able to pull the Aussie vote off in the manner that she did was rather impressive, because she just rounded everybody up and was like, this is what we're doing, we're going to do this. And I think it was impressive, but she did have what seemed to be some very good moments.
Yeah, I thought we got good clarity that we understood she knew what she was talking about, or that she was clear of what was happening. So, so if I'm on a season with Ozzy, and we're walking out to an immunity challenge, and I see polls, and Probst introduces right away that Ozzy's undefeated on this challenge, I'm pulling a Zeke, and I'm just walking straight to the bench and sitting down on the bench to wait for the food to come out, because why even climb the pole if you're going against an undefeated survivor, one of the greatest survivor challengers of all time? I mean, I put in there I put in our Facebook chat that it was going to take a lightning strike.
Yeah, the food thing though he doesn't always do, and it's
right.
It's risky. You don't know. Know.
Well, Ty beat him.
Yes, he did. He sure did. Good on Ty.
I mean, Ty weighs what, 50 pounds?
Wet.
Ty looked like he was sleeping up there at one point. Like, and he looked so comfortable.
Right, and everyone else's feet like barely go, and he just,
yeah.
It's like he's like he's standing on a 2x4.
Yeah, exactly. And meanwhile, Haley says we can work on our tan. Not Haley. Sierra says we can work on our tan.
Oh yeah, and she actually was laying out, getting a tan.
Are y'all done yet? Mm-hmm. Just laying out. So
can
right
I have some coconut oil, please.
So because half the people are smelling like coconut. Do you forget the sense of smell while you're out there on that reward challenge? That was pretty neat.
Really?
Yeah, revealing.
Yeah, you it's strange. You don't realize just how bad anything smells because you become so accustomed to it. So
yeah, it's kind of like hoarders. There's 20 dead cats in her bathroom, but she can't smell it.
Right,
oh,
you
look,
get used
we found
to
another dead cat. Yeah, they're all in there.
I love that show.
And she's in there going, "What? But I need that." Ma'am, it's a dead cat paw. I know.
Oh my God, I love that show.
So
I really do.
That was good. Yeah, I think Andrew's the one that said we smell like sweat and mud. So that's all we're used to smelling. So then after the challenge, this is where Zeke wants to go after Andrea, and he goes to Sierra, the godmother of the other tribe, and flat out we get that this comment hit a wall because Sierra says, "I think Zeke thinks I'm stupid." The way he's talking to me, why would I believe him for a split second?
Right.
That somebody from the other group is coming over here to give up the other group and join us. Why in the world would I believe that?
I like Suri. After this episode, huge Suri fan.
Yeah.
Sierra or Suri?
Suri.
Sierra.
You said Suri.
I meant Sierra. Sorry. I read Suri, but I meant
still
Sierra.
A huge Suri fan.
I like Sierra playing this year. I think she's doing really well, and she's more control of her game. But what does Sierra do? She goes back to one of his supposed allies and lets them know. So we got the two factions get ready to go to war. Somebody from one faction walks across the field and tells them, "Hey, if y'all going to shoot anybody, can y'all shoot her first, and I'll shoot her with you?" And this is one person from this whole army. So the leader of this army goes over and tells the leader of this army, "Hey, you got somebody over here that wants to blow you all up, right? Wants to take you all out." So then Sierra can go back to her army and just have lunch while the other faction starts fighting amongst themselves. I thought it was great.
It is great.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I fell again. Uh-oh.
By the way, I really like Sierra this season.
I thought you were going to say Jessica. I think Jessica's playing great.
Yeah, Jessica's doing a great job.
I'm trying, I'm representing well.
Well, you've already fallen twice, so you're trying to outdo Andrea on the rock.
It's the cord. I keep hitting the cord. It's not good.
It's all good.
So this is where we get to me the tricky part of the episode, in that they're talking about Zeke, they're talking about Sierra getting voted out, but then I know, Dwayne, I'm wrapping up. Don't worry. And then you yawned right in my middle of my speak. But I'm thinking, okay, the traditional pick right now would be Joe, Malcolm, or Ozzy. If they lose that challenge, you got to get rid of that challenge beast right off the bat. I'm like, who's going to throw that out? And here comes Debbie throwing out the Ozzy vote. My question is that the right vote? Because I don't think it is.
The thing with Ozzy that I think is interesting is everybody knows Ozzy, and everybody knows that the world wants Ozzy to win Survivor. You know, there's like that idea that he's like the quintessential Survivor player who should win. So I feel like he would be an easier vote later as well, because there's going to be so many people who don't want to be sitting next to him in the final three that you might be able to save that vote for later, that he won't necessarily be a hard sell. But the problem you have with Ozzy is he can win immunity challenges. So if he goes on a run and suddenly that opportunity doesn't present itself, then you're in trouble. So it's mixed, that's for sure.
So there's a final 13 at the merge. If there's a final 3, then we got 10 challenges to get to the end. He's 0 for 2 on the first 2.
Yeah.
And I know that was odd. That is strange because I don't think not many people would have had that. But I agree that I don't think he can win 7 or 8 more in a row.
Right.
You know, Mike Holloway pulled off a great run. He did lose 1 in there, but he had an idol. Ozzy could find an idol just as well. I still think I think Sarah's the one that said, which one do you go with? The one that can win challenges or the one that can change the game? The one that can talk their way into a better position. And you got 3 people, Andrea, Sari, and Zeke, that all know this game very well and can talk their way out of any situation. That those 3 scare me to the point where I would push for one of those 3 to go before Ozzy and take my chances on Ozzy losing the challenge down the road.
So basically what Haley said. Right?
Yes, I'm agreeing with Haley.
That is true.
Yeah.
Why take out a goat when you can take out a threat?
Why are you taking me out? I can help you. Why aren't you taking out these people that could beat you?
Right.
Because they're game changers, and I'm not.
Right.
That's what she said.
Pretty much.
I just said that's what she said, joke.
That was weird.
So that was weird. So getting to at the final tribal, at the end of 2 hours, we've already talked about a lot of what everybody said. Ozzy talks about himself being a provider, which would be one reason to keep him. But I like what Zeke said. He's got to think about other people thinking if they can beat him. Can I beat them? Can I beat them? But I also have to think that they think if they can beat me. And he made a really great point in saying that I've got to convince Jessica that she can beat me so she'll take me to the end, even though I think I can beat her. And that's a great philosophy, especially for Ty, who's never thought of that philosophy and says, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that information. And I just wondered for a split second if Zeke goes, did I just say all that out loud?
Yeah, he probably shouldn't have said that. Yeah, because that is honestly like whenever you're having that final 3 conversation with anybody when you're out there, that's what you're always processing. You're like, well, can I really beat this person, or do they think they could? I mean, you are absolutely 100% doing that every time you're having that conversation and trying to figure out who you want to go to the end with.
Yeah.
So it's probably not a good idea that he was, even though that everyone thinks that. Then you say it, you know, and that's a little different.
Yeah.
I think Zeke really revealed himself in these past episodes, in these, you know, yesterday's episode. I mean, I think he's definitely put a target on him because people thought he was smart and people thought he was a good player, but now he stepped it up and showed that he's willing to take out his own. I think he's in a bad place.
And Probst was all about, he was like the teacher listening to the right answer. He was just smiling and nodding and kind of looking around like, do y'all get that? That's how you need to play the game. Be aggressive like Zeke. And Ty's like, wow, he's really smart.
He's like, wait, we're playing a game? I thought we were just out here chilling.
Ty's like, is it better to know that or to have 2 idols? So.
Yeah, meanwhile, Ty finds an idol at Tribal Council. Yeah.
He's like, I don't know why I need this immunity idol, but I'm glad I found it.
He sits on a stump and, oh, what is this? Oh, never mind.
I'll have to ask somebody how to use it. You know, Adam's like saying Ty is so awesome, but what about Ty not even knowing who to play the idol for?
That right.
Yeah, I mean, I can see Adam's point because obviously. Yeah. Ty is doing everything that you, as a Survivor player, you always wanted. Like, I want to have 2 idols in my pocket. I mean, that's amazing. Right. And, I mean, he's winning challenges. He's ingratiating himself to his tribe. People are liking him. But I do think that Ty is his own worst enemy in the way he presents himself, you know, where he doesn't always seem to necessarily know what direction things are moving in and where things are at and what would be the best thing for him to do. He's always very concerned about other people. And that, I think, is a detriment to his game because he's thinking about others instead of thinking about himself. And that's why I think the Caleb vote stood out so much, because suddenly he was thinking about himself and what's going to be better for his game. Was that better for his game? I mean, it's tricky because you're putting a relationship aside, and how people read into that. So it's a mix. It's definitely a mix. Ty's doing great things, but it's a struggle at the same time.
Was he thinking about his game, or was he listening to Brad telling him to think about his game? Because we get a lot of compassionate moments from Ty at this particular episodes. Both of these, lots of Ty putting others first. I mean, and he's a great guy for that. He's obviously a sweet person, but you got to be at some point. You got to be cutthroat.
Yeah, and that's and that's one of those situations where he was so worried about what the other, what's Brad going to think of me and what are other people going to think of me. But at the same time, if you have a relationship as close that you have with someone like Caleb and you're playing that game with him, why would you not want to stay with Caleb and work with Caleb?
Right.
It's because you're worried about what other people are going to perceive. So it's his read on, relationships and what people actually are doing as opposed to what he thinks they're doing is not always on par.
Yeah.
So I have a question going back to Ozzy's vote out. I think he was putting far too much value on him providing food. I mean, he kind of felt like they're not going to vote me out or they won't be able to eat. He even says it on the way out, good luck eating. I'm like, they'll be fine. I'd rather not eat than you win. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I just feel like he put way too much value on that. Because that seems like what he was hanging his hat on. Yeah. Am I wrong? I mean,
no, I think that's kind of an old school Survivor mentality too, where the survival component of the game used to be so much more important.
Right.
And even though it's important, it's not the most important thing. I mean, it's great when you have somebody who provides, and it's great that you have somebody who can catch fish and make fire and do all of those things. But really, you're not going to starve. I mean, you're going to be hungry, but you're going to eat a lot of coconut. You will. There'll be something that you'll be able to eat. There'll be some reward challenge. There'll be something, and I mean, eat snails. I mean, we ate a lot of snails. I mean, there's things that you can do that you'll get by.
Right. And if it really is that important, then why would they want to keep you? Because then you could win the game based on it. Now, I'm not saying that was important, but my point is, if it was that important, then you're going to get voted off for that too, because you go to the end and go, I was the only one who did this.
Right.
So either way, you're.
Well, not to put down his game or diminish him even more, but even in one of his segments of his Ponderosa video, he talks about it was hard to connect with people because trying to find somebody else that wants to play for the survivor aspect. And I'm like, you're not there to survive. You're there to win $1 million. You're there to play a game, a social game, to knock people out and win money at the end. If you're going out there to survive, then go find Kelly Wigglesworth and Joe Anglin and go out in the woods somewhere and try and survive with mom.
Okay, so do you feel like he was playing too idealistic of it? Whatever the word is. Like he was thinking of it too ideally, and I don't kind of messed him up.
I think he's got an old school attitude or old school soul, but I don't think he has a cutthroat type mentality to play the game.
Yes. No, I agree. I think that he's very Ken was very similar when Ken played the game, because Ken had that old soul and thought that the survival component would carry the day as opposed to the strategy component. And in the way that Survivor is now played, the strategy component is is driving that game, and it's not about surviving necessarily, because the Survivor gods are very giving in what they provide, because they do want people to be able to flourish and make it to day 39.
Right.
Otherwise, they wouldn't have a show.
Right.
So you're not going to starve. You'd be amazed where suddenly there's coconuts where there were no coconuts before.
Exactly.
I mean, these are things that, they pay attention to these things, and they aren't going to, CBS is not going to let you will be hungry. Absolutely, you will be hungry. You will be uncomfortable. But I do not think that, you would be allowed to get to that point.
Yeah. It's like you're walking through the woods. Look, there's 4 New York strips. I wonder what tree they fell out of.
Hanging from a tree branch. I didn't know they grew on trees.
Wow.
It's not that good. It's not that good.
There's some watermelon that wasn't there before.
But the coconuts, let me tell you, that's an amazing thing.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Anything else, David? Before we get to our 2 feedback, we have 3, but I can't play Vader Girls, so you'll only hear it on the audio podcast.
We have 4. She's the 4th one. We got 4 total. Yeah.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah. So we go and read those. They're very quick, so we'll go through those. The first one. Did you want to play fake an intro or something, or just go right into feedback?
No. Just remind people to join our Survivor Talk Facebook group. Have a lot of fun. There's no spoilers on there. And it's fun. Jessica's there because I joined her. I made her join. She didn't know it.
Yay!
You know, I think you were on there before, which means that you left the group.
I'm sorry.
But I don't want to put you on the spot or anything.
She thought we were another group. That's what it was.
Yeah. She goes, oh.
That was my other alter ego, Jessica Lewis person we were talking about earlier. That's what that was.
Okay. Yeah, we're still waiting for her to join the podcast. So.
All right, on to feedback.
Let's see. The first one is from Cynthia. It's probably the shortest feedback we've ever gotten.
Oh my gosh, it's a one-liner, so you give it to yourself.
Well, you'll see why later. Whether they actually killed the goats or threatened to kill the goats, I'm out. I'll never watch Survivor again.
I didn't really think that was the feedback. I thought she was just telling us that, but I guess
I took it as a feedback. Yeah.
Cynthia's like, well, that she's not listening.
No, she's probably not listening.
Because she's like, I'm done with Survivor.
She's done.
Well, now, okay, so why would they didn't eat them?
You sure?
No, David.
Sandra claims
sometimes we know things weren't. Oh, she just said it so we can say it.
No, Sandra said it in her interviews. Yeah, she said that when I came back, they were eating meat.
Sometimes I don't know what we know is from public knowledge or some of the background knowledge we get. So I try not to say things. But yes, they ate a goat.
You just did.
That's what Sandra said. That's what she said.
Yeah, she came back from a confessional and they handed her a chunk of meat. So, but they even said that wasn't the 2 that you saw us catch. It was another one, a different time.
Yeah. It was a smaller baby.
Baby.
That was horrible what they did.
That was
with the little baby goat. His mama over there.
And they actually
seriously, I would be very upset.
They actually kept it overnight. She said they didn't release it until the next day.
Yeah. So, Cynthia, they did eat a goat. They let them do it. All right.
I would not partake in the goat eating.
I don't know if I would either.
Oh, I'm chowing.
Not if I saw them kill the thing.
You have chickens, for God's sakes. Why are you killing a goat? You have chickens, you know.
At least with the chicken, it's just, and they're dead. With the goat, you can't go, and they're dead.
A goat's more meat.
How do you kill the goat?
There's a machete.
Oh, my gosh.
If the machete strikes correctly, there'll be the silence of the lambs. You don't have to worry about it.
It's like watching Fargo.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
No, not doing
eat
that.
A chicken. Mm-mm. And the thing is, there's still chickens running around. They're not starving. Come on.
Ty has put a what do they call it in Star Trek? The shields are up.
Force field. Yeah.
Shields. Around the chicken.
All right, Paul Somerville from Pennsylvania. The title is Game Changers. I feel Ozzy went home directly because of Ty's actions of winning the pole hanging, beating out Ozzy. I still feel Ty finding an idol, sharing it with the group, and then working with the group saved the pretty lady and sent Malcolm home. Actions speak louder than words. Ty sat out of the food reward when Ozzy said he didn't think he could do it. Then Ty goes out and beats Ozzy at his own game. Ty is sitting with idols. People are talking to him. Are you sure this isn't Adam's feedback?
I was just going to say, Adam is like, he's totally all over this.
Yeah. Ty is sitting with idols. People are talking to him. Ty's name comes up when people talk about who has the numbers. So what has Ty done or not done to change the outcome of this game? More than anyone else, he chose to offer an idol to send Malcolm home. He chose not to share. Malcolm, this person's talking about last season or seasons before?
No, Malcolm, he saved Sierra and Malcolm went home.
That's right. Malcolm played. Oh, gosh. Like I said, I'm not used to being up this late.
And that's Jessica that we're talking to, just so you know.
Oh, hi, Jessica. I didn't know you were here. Do you like my microphone? More than anyone else, he chose to offer it idle to send Malcolm home. He chose not to share one to save Hallie or others. If Ty makes final 3 at this point of the game, I feel a good argument could be made for Ty as the game winner. But I don't think he's the one to make the speech.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yes, he can't. He won't explain it well.
Yeah, he'd be like, Probst, can I have a pinch speaker? Like a pinch runner, have a pinch speaker.
Right. Can someone come in and make my argument for me?
That's right.
Yeah,
and that's when Adam crashes. Adam comes in. He's like, all right, let me tell the reasons why Ty wins.
Adam comes jumping out from behind the statues. That's right. What's more important, the guy's actions that set up a vote out or the person that narrows the options left to the group and pulls the trigger? Okay, so let me ask that again so that y'all can answer it. What's more important, the guy's actions that set up a vote out or the person that narrows the options left to the group and pulls the trigger?
So what's more important, Ty winning the challenge or Debbie narrowing the options left to the group and pulling the trigger? Who's the bigger game changer? Who's having a bigger effect on the game? That's a good question.
I think in that particular instance, I think Debbie would be, because she's the one that made them vote out Ozzy. I mean, he could have still lost the immunity challenge and not been voted out. I mean, it was amazing that Ty won. But the fact that Debbie was able to tell everyone, hey, no, let's do Ozzy and make that happen, I think was pretty, that's very significant. Because Ozzy wasn't even a target going, oh my God, I did it again.
That's the iPhone disagreeing with your comment.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Totally
so my opinion is whichever has the longer term.
I got to flip it. There we go.
Whichever one has the longer term positive effect is the better game changer. Ultimately.
Right, because beating Ozzy was one thing. Getting Ozzy out of the game is something else altogether.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, David, you're reading John the Buckley.
Yep.
This is the guy from YouTube.
Hey, Dwayne and David. It's John again from Ohio. The worst has happened. Ozzy is gone. The end.
Yes, that's the worst.
No, that's not the end. I'm just going to say a few short things this week. That means it's only 2 pages instead of 3. So, just kidding. Just kidding, John. I knew Debbie would go back to Brad. There was a very good secret scene with Brad and Debbie in which Brad revealed that he thinks Debbie has a crush on him. Zeke is making the same mistakes he made last time. It was a huge mistake for him to turn on his alliance like that. Targeting Andrea and Sari was not a smart thing to do. I have no idea why he did that. He wants to be the shot caller, and I guess he didn't think Andrea and Sari were including him enough. But still, why would he sell them down the river and try to jump to the bottom of Sierra and Brad's group? He messed up bad there. Some blame lies with Andrea and Suri for not making sure that he felt involved and secure, but he made a huge mistake targeting Andrea. Zeke going to Sierra like that wasn't smart. Zeke basically made a move to make a move with no reason behind it. Zeke's move here wasn't a smart one, and he's making the same mistakes all over again. It got Ozzy voted out. Well, that was Debbie's doing, but if Zeke doesn't do this, maybe Ozzy would have had a better chance of staying. I think so. I cannot stand Debbie anymore. She used the extra vote, but it didn't matter. Yes, she didn't go home after playing it, but it didn't affect the outcome of the vote. So in my book, she didn't use it correctly. I'm worried it's going to be the Brad and Sierra show from here on out. They're just going to drag Ty and Debbie along. Yuck, this could be awful.
You know what's hilarious?
What's that?
Is you're reading the feedback and you're all into it. Jessica and I are just over here chomping on things.
No, I know why I'm not getting any comments.
I'm listening.
I'm eating whatever that is, and she's eating some chips.
I know. That's why I'm not even turning over.
Yeah. Well, last week you had Reese's Pieces and all kinds of stuff that he kept showing me.
2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Delicious. Favorite candy. And by the way, all of the comments are fabulous, but I didn't think we needed to say anything as we were listening.
Yeah. David, you're doing such a great job.
You done? Okay.
No, I still have a little bit left. Actually,
I'm all good because I'm only halfway through.
Oh, I better
but I
pull
can
out
have
another.
I can have another chip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have another chip.
Good thing I got more beef jerky.
There you go. Next paragraph. I'm rooting for Sari, Michaela, Andrea, and Aubrey at this point. Sarah's a flipper. I can't stand her. Zeke made a move way too early and targeted his core alliance, which gave even more control to Brad and Sierra. Zeke has a need to be in absolute control, and I find it annoying. I don't think he's as good as people think. I wanted to see more of why Aubrey went with the group that she did. I'm glad that Sari and Aubrey went with Andrea and Ozzy, but I wanted to see more of Aubrey's thoughts about that. That's it for me, I guess. So sad to see Ozzy go. Also, who could have guessed that both Debbie and Ty would show their butts in the same episode? Sheesh. P.S. I hope Sierra's downfall is to come. Why don't you tell us what you really think, John?
Yeah, Ty showed more than his butt.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he did.
He was running around crazy.
And it was funny. Don't you guys remember streaking in the 70s and 80s? I'm like, these guys were in diapers if they were streaking in the 70s and 80s.
Didn't Ozzy say, wasn't alive then?
Yeah.
Something like that.
What I think is really, what I love about Ty, I don't know if you've noticed this, but he only ever wears all of his clothes when he's at tribal council. Like every other time you see him, he's just in his underwear.
Right.
It's fascinating.
And yet he can still hide idols in there. It's amazing.
It's really amazing.
Yeah, he goes idol hunting in his underwear, but when he's doing a challenge, he's got a long sleeve shirt on and jean shorts. I'm like, good grief.
It's so crazy. Funny.
Well, what's happening is he washes his underwear while he's at challenges.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing.
Exactly. Do you remember the season where they were using water to cook stuff or whatever, and somebody put their underwear in it to clean it?
Oh.
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember which one it was.
That was funny.
I don't remember that. That's a little gross, though.
Yeah, well. All right, Mir.I.am. Yeah. So next we have Mir.I.am. If you are on YouTube, you don't get to hear it, so because I'm not in my normal setup, so I can't play it for you to hear it.
No, he's in a bathroom in a hotel.
That's right.
With a very large microphone.
Yeah, and that bed's looking really comfortable, but I won't be in it for another hour or so. But anyway, oh yeah, there it was, Chelsea and Tarzan. I remember.
Yes, that. It was Tarzan. That's right.
I wouldn't want Tarzan's underwear in my soup either, or anybody's for that matter. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh, Mir.I.am's audio will be in the audio podcast, or the audio episode. So go and download it.
Hi, Dwaine and David. This is the very wrong Mir.I.am, also known as Vader Girl. Yes, you guys were right, and I was very wrong again. Like one of my other winner picks, Kyle Jason. There went Ozzy. What, the second one out after the merge? Drats! Sigh. I should have known that his confessionals were not actually doing very much. Like he wasn't really getting the confessionals, but he did get a pretty good edit. I do think he evolved. I do think he is still a legend, and I still am Team Ozzy. Now I'm having to go for Michaela and Siri. I really, really loved seeing Siri evolve this episode, and how, like as usual, her magic comes together at the merge. Siri is queen. Sandra stays queen, but Siri is also, my God, Siri is amazing. She just works magic. She gets into people's heads. I love Siri. And I love her and Michaela working together. I'm also loving Brad Culpepper. I mean, he is just amazing. He's getting such a good edit. And I just think he just has everybody. I mean, Brad, if he doesn't get to the end, or I don't know, his edit is very winner's edit. So I guess I'm Team Culpepper, I'm Team Siri, I'm Team Michaela. Zeke kind of went from hero to zero. I love you, Zeke, so much, but I mean, just his betrayal he's playing a little too hard. And, Zeke's amazing, but he kind of lost a lot of stuff in my eyes this week. I just didn't like him betraying Andrea, and I just think he made a little bit of too fast moves and played a little bit too hard. I don't see him lasting much longer. Like I said, I think it's going to be either Brad Culpepper going to the end Or I'm hoping Siri. Dear God, Siri's amazing. She just came to life. Talk about a metamorphosis there. Go Siri. Queen, queen, queen. Slay it, girl. She's a gangsta in an Oprah suit. God bless her. Anyways, love you guys. May the force be with you. Eat lots of kale, drink water, avoid the Gatorade and the sugar, and lots of black cats and Mancoons for life. May the force be with you, like I said, and everybody shop the Amazon link, become a patron, support D&D. You guys are amazing. Your kids are amazing. Hi, Gracie. And talk to you guys soon. Hope to see you in chat. Bye, everybody.
All right. Oh, my goodness,
That was
David.
fabulous.
We're almost done. I don't want to leave, Jessica. We got to come up with something else.
Well, who do you think? We'll ask you what we asked Kyle last week, Kyle Jason. Going forward, who do you like going forward? Who do you think is in the strongest position? Who do you think could flip? Who do you think could change the game up? How do you think it's going to – as long as you're not spoiled, which I presume you're not. You
No, I'm not spoiled. I'm very impressed with Brad at this point because he's playing a much different game than he did before, and he seems to be in much more control of what he's doing and how things are playing out. And he doesn't look like the bad guy. So I think that's helpful to him. So I like his game a lot. I do think that he's doing very well. I do think that Sarah is in an interesting spot because she's still kind of in the middle and she's still kind of trying to figure out where she wants to go. And whoever really solidifies that relationship is going to be, I think, moving forward, a key component in the game because she can still kind of switch things up. So that'll be interesting to see, where Sarah falls. And I love Suri. I love Suri. I love her so much. I think her game is amazing. And I love the quietness of her game, how she can play kind of almost behind the scenes and make things happen. And it's not this big, like it's not the move that Debbie just made, where Debbie was like, oh, this whole, thing with Ozzy. But Suri can make things happen, and I'm very impressed. So I'm hoping that Suri makes it to the end because that would make me extremely happy.
Yeah, I'm actually calling it. Suri's going to win.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's what and hey, so it's done.
It's done. I like that. I like that because she's amazing.
And who would have ever thought I would say that? But I really think she could win.
Looking on the next week on Survivor, we get one alliance, the big alliance, the Godfather alliance, solidifying, and we get Zeke and Sarah talking about making a move, which could really be bad for Sarah. Why would you align yourself with the one person that's ostracized themselves from one tribe and isn't trusted by the other tribe? There's got to be numbers in there somewhere that Sarah's forming her own family, to work on. And is Ty somebody you can break away from the group, or is Debbie? I think with Debbie, if you make Debbie feel like she's calling the shots, you can form another group with Debbie. And at some point, will Aubrey and Ty come together with Debbie and have some sort of conversation? I would really like to see that happen. I still think that's going to happen at some point. The Co-Wrong 3 is going to do something, and that could be a group that Sarah gets with and works with because that leaves Troy, Sierra, and Culpepper alone. That's two of their big hitters right there, and Debbie and Ty. I mean, Debbie and Ty seem real tight with that group. But at some point, they got to realize, we're 4 and 5. We're not 2 and 3 or 1 and 2. We're 4 and 5 in that group. When do they make that move? Who's going to pull them away and make that move?
Right.
So.
All right. So, David, is this a new iTunes review? Is that what I see?
It came in the 15th, which I presume was since the last one.
Yeah. So, boom.
You write them. We read them. iTunes reviews.
It says we have one new iTunes review this week from Joel Lesty. It says D&D do a great job recapping episodes and making comments and non-spoiler predictions. He knows that because they're always wrong.
Exactly. It's a underhanded insult, but a compliment. We'll take it.
Yeah. That's an underhanded way of saying they have no idea what they're saying.
That's right.
No, I'm just kidding.
Trust their predictions
every day.
Non-spoilers.
Okay, this is incredible. This guy has got the job of his life. I listen every day over my lunch break. Dude, every one of our podcasts is over 2 hours. You got one heck of a lunch break.
No, he breaks it up over everyday lunches.
Yeah, I know that, David.
Come on.
Remember how whenever you went on Drudge Report and you saw all of our pictures and our mugs on there and you thought it was awesome? And I said, David, that's just your cookies. You could, don't ruin it for me.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of the same thing.
Okay.
Hey, Jessica, I got a question for you.
Hey, I got an answer.
Do you read crime novels that have like courtroom scenes in them? Do you like those kinds of books that have courtroom scenes in them? I
do. Some of them are, more enjoyable than others, but I'm a big horror novel fan. Like I love Stephen King.
He's my favorite. I'm reading Desperation right now.
Are you really?
Yes, and it feels like his older stuff.
Yeah, and that's my favorite stuff. Like Needful Things, by far one of my favorites. Like, and obviously The Stand is. I have read Needful Things twice, I think. I have too, and let me tell you, it is amazing.
I love that one.
It's like, even though I've read it before, I'm still like blown away when I read it because it's like, it's like it hits a climax and then it doesn't stop. It's just, and then Pet Sematary was the first book I ever read that I couldn't sleep when I was done with it. Had the absolute best ending of all time, and the movie was. The movies never do it justice. The only one is like Shawshank Redemption actually follows the story extremely well.
The longest movie
the rest of them,
with a short book.
I know, it's crazy. But that's like the only one that actually follows it closely.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to go off into all that, but we could talk about Stephen King all day. The Dark Tower series.
Oh my God. My husband loves those. I mean, I think they're great, but yeah, Aaron is like.
Okay. Yeah. Tommy Knockers is good too. Okay. Anyway, I just finished The Verdict. Have you read that one?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Is that based on is the Paul Newman movie based on that book?
The Paul Newman movie? No, it's fairly recent book called The Verdict.
Oh, it's a newer book.
Well,
okay.
After the show then, Jessica, if you could give me a few recommendations I really enjoy reading a book where it's all courtroom. I mean, I like the setup for it, and The Verdict was like half the book was the setup for the trial. But I really enjoy reading the trial or hearing the trial. So, on that note, all right. Let's see, David. You have a word of wisdom that you told me earlier today. Are you going to share it on our show? It is 2.5 hours into the show, so this could be considered like. What's it, Cinemax at night or whatever? You could go
after hours.
Yeah.
Thought for the day that some might get and some might not was.
You are going to do it, aren't you?
I am going to do it. Okay. So, no matter how much you jump or how long you dance, the last few drops always end up in your pants. You told me to do it. What did you say?
Oh, my word.
Just like I wrote the script for the first part, Dwaine gave me the final thought for the last part. So,
I called him today. Wow. I was listening to Desperation, and one of the guys that gets killed in the first part of the book was going to the bathroom out in the woods or out in the desert, and he said it. And I died laughing, so I called David. I said, David, I have some.
Can I give you your final thought for tonight?
Love it.
Yes. All right. Jessica, do you have any words of wisdom?
Do I have any final thoughts?
I'm afraid to ask.
I can't follow that. Are you serious?
I know. It's absolutely impossible.
That's an ender right there. I mean, you can't follow that.
Oh, Kim Descenzo, I do not know how to pronounce her name, asked a question earlier of you, and I am going to find it again. Well, every time someone makes a comment, it goes back down to the end, so stop making comments, please.
She asked something about how does she feel about the attention or the fan. Yeah.
Yeah, how do you like all the attention and the
reaction of fans
and being on shows like Survivor Talk with D&D?
Oh, well, this is by far my favorite.
Exactly.
Doing that.
Yes.
But it's actually really fun. Like, I think one of the most incredible things is when you do get recognized. I mean, it's really quite funny, but I had a situation recently where I went into a Dunkin' Donuts and I was ordering a cup of coffee, and one of the people working there was kind of looking at me, and they're like, you look really familiar, and like didn't want to really say anything, and I was like, you ever watch television? And they're like, oh my god, you're the one that's on Survivor, and then like completely lost it, and it was so cute. I took a picture with them.
Yeah.
But the best part was when I was leaving, and they were like, it was like they were really excited but trying to be calm at the same time. I walked out. As the door was closing is when I heard the screaming begin. And it was hysterical. Like, as I was walking out, I heard them, like, screaming, like, how excited they were. And I was like, this is just me. Like, this is, I was like, you know, and, like, so to have someone react like that, it's pretty neat because I'm like, I'm just a regular old person who ended up on a show. But to have someone, like, be so excited to have met me that's cool. I like it.
That reminds me of my favorite scene in Notting Hill. Well, my second favorite scene in Notting Hill. Have you seen that movie?
I saw it a long time ago, yeah.
Okay, so this normal guy, right? This normal guy that owns a bookshop that no one wants to buy any books from.
Right.
Goes to his sister's party with, like, the biggest actress in the world. Mm-hmm. And they're all shocked. And as they leave the house that night and they shut the door, and it's exactly what you said. And he goes,
everybody screams.
Yeah, and he goes, they always do that when I leave. Yeah.
No, it's great.
Okay, so you are doing jury selection. Does the judge ever ask them, have you seen, because I know they asked me once, do you have any preconceived ideas about these lawyers that you're not going to, that would keep you from being
fair and impartial?
Thank you.
Yeah. Actually, they do always ask, does anyone recognize the prosecutor? Does anyone recognize the defense attorney? And the last trial that I had, I did talk to the judge and defense counsel beforehand just to say, if someone does say, I recognize the prosecutor, if we can have them approach the bench and explain why, as opposed to standing up in the courtroom and going, yeah, I think I saw her on Survivor, just so that way the rest of the panel doesn't become affected. And the judge was like, oh, yeah, I never even thought of that. Sure. And the defense counsel, thought the same. So it hasn't, thank goodness hasn't been an issue, but it is something I'm aware of and I think of because I don't want it to end up affecting anything.
Right. So you don't use it in your closing argument or anything?
No.
Just like when I was on Survivor. Remember?
And then I pull out a rock.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, this guy needs to go to jail, just like this rock needs to go in the ocean or something. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. Anyway. Well, Jessica, it was a blast having you on. You know why I love having you on so much?
Why?
Because you laugh at everything I say.
Well, you're very funny. Yes.
And David doesn't. And usually he gets you're like the only guest that actually treats me nicely. Because David gets all the other guests against me at the very beginning.
That's sad.
It is.
That's very sad.
It really is sad. David's, always sabotaging.
We're still going to vote you out, Dwaine, but that's very sad.
Dwaine, how can anybody feel that way about you when you have such a big microphone?
How can you go after that? What's left to say?
It's a very special. Like they say, no matter how much you jump or how much you dance. All right, everybody. We are gonna continue this, but you are not. Have a wonderful night.
Now I'm crying. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Thank you so much for listening.
See ya.
There you go. Bye.